All right, you want me to? I'll offer this little prayer to get us going. Dear Father in heaven, just grateful that I'm on here with my buddy Don and the friendship, and thankful for him and what he's brought into my life, and Frank's and helping us put SOAR together, and blessed that me and him can have a beautiful conversation and that we can talk about important things and pull each other's stories out of each other in a cool way, and also talk about kratom and shed light on it somehow, that we might be instruments in helping people understand that drug. And I also ask you to welcome Buck up there. We lost him last night to an overdose. Hard. Please always help me to remember the important work that I'm involved in and never take it for granted again. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Yeah,
thank you.
So last night, so he's been in and out of the program. His brother passed away.
I've met Buck.
You know Buck?
Yeah.
Oh, so I just barely told you about it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found him laying by his truck, overdosed.
Fentanyl. Dude.
So, yeah, we were in group last night and we got the text, and he was a big part of this community. I mean, he was here a lot and went to the Grand Canyon with us. So it was a hard one, but we haven't lost anybody for a while. The year before last, we lost 4 people, but it's pretty wild, bro. Like, the longer you get in this industry, that's like because the more you get to know people, and then you just, these funerals and people passing,
Yep.
It's
Dude,
wild.
I always tell people, and I started this number years ago, but I would always say I've got 100 dead friends.
Yeah.
And the numbers far exceeded that. I just don't count anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not that you get numb to it ever, because it breaks your heart, but you just start noticing you almost just start, it's difficult, because as you meet more and more people in recovery, just statistically, like, not all of us are going to make it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we can't. It doesn't mean that we can't, but it's when you got a big group like you've got here,
Yeah.
it's going to happen, man.
Yeah.
And it's the substances are so pervasive. They're everywhere. And as we know, there are a lot of gateways that are there that people don't even realize they're gateways.
Yeah.
The
thing that was good about this last relapse that I had is I'm not taking this for granted anymore. I mean, being, not being able to come here and going through that whole thing, like, and then just knowing how important the work is that we're involved in. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
I think it was a good I'm happy that it happened, even though it sucked. But
I'm happy it happened too, bro. For that exact reason that you said. That's
Yeah.
the same thing I had have it happen in 2013.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. This kratom stuff, like in these gas stations. What were you saying? So, we were talking about earlier when we first came in? You were talking about these gas. So the Mavericks, they got. I can't remember what the Mavericks are called. It's not.
Oh, dude,
Do you know what they are?
I don't know what they're called, but they're in that little box. It says relaxation station.
Yeah.
The plexiglass box, right there at checkout.
Yeah.
Like right where my little boy gets to see it.
Yeah.
My little boy, he likes using the card reader, right? And he just started school about a month ago. Little Ashton did.
Wow.
And it's crazy. 3 years old, and so he's in preschool. But he always likes, every day after school, he has it twice a week. He always says, "Let's go Mavic." Anyway, he likes the card reader, and so I picked him up, and he used it, and he pointed to these things. He goes, "I want one. I want one."
Just like that.
Just like something like that. What you would think is a 5-hour energy, right?
Yeah, that is a 5-hour
And
energy.
it is a 5-hour. I've never been big into 5-hour energies, but I could only imagine if I was, I'd pick up one of those just on the fly. If I didn't see the 5-hour energy, let me grab one of those.
Well, well, the branding behind them, I mean, it looks even better than this, because the first time that I took one of those feel frees,
Yeah.
it was like the guy presented it to me like it was healthier.
Yeah.
It's healthy. And you know, when I first drank it, bro, it was so nasty. I mean, you know how you know how nasty it is. But a part of me was like, dude, this might be healthy because it's like nasty. It's
Right.
not like sugar coated.
Right.
You know?
Oh, it's all plant-based.
Yeah, it's plant-based.
Plant-based.
Bro, I sold myself that lie for 6 months.
Bro, that's the lie I sold myself for years.
Yeah.
Literally years. But it wasn't in that format. Had it been in that format, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know if I would have even recovered, you know? The barriers to me getting what I was getting were so much more difficult than just going down to the local Maverick.
Yeah, did you get into it like ordering it online before it
So,
was really
dude,
popular?
Yes. So 2012 was my year. So we're talking 13 years ago is when I found this poison.
Hey,
Yeah.
And
you turned mine down just a hair.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
You can keep going, Don.
okay, word. And so, I mean, as we know, we were doing the podcast back in 18 and even when I did it with you guys in I think 2017 is when I first did the SOAR podcast the War podcast in December.
Yeah.
And I shared my story about it back then. And still people didn't know what it was.
I remember when you actually were telling me about it, I was like,
In 2017,
but
bro.
I knew, but you were what is interesting is you were a bad opiate addict. I think this is what people need to know. So you were a bad oxy addict.
Oh yeah.
And then you became a kratom addict, and kratom was worse. Weren't you a worse addict?
Let me explain. So it got to the point where back in 2003, 4, 5, right? Like that's when I really got big into opiates was 2003. And you know, it got to the point where I would wake up with an Oxy 80 up each nostril just to wake up, right? Like just to wake up, it would be an Oxy 80 in each nostril. Probably would put down up to 10 plus a day. So 800 milligrams of Oxy instant release, like the old school ones that, you know, anyone that was using them back then know about, right?
I never used them like that.
Oh, dude, it was, and you know, I mean, everything from snorting them to people would show me smoking them, and I'd dabble with heroin when I couldn't find those, you know, like, and started getting worse until I got sober. You know, when I went to Odyssey, went through 2 years. Anyway, was sober for, you know, 6 years, and then I moved to California. Operated business up there, right? Left the recovery industry. It started treatment center, New Roads, you know, was one of the executives at Odyssey, was doing well in the recovery space.
Right.
Graduated MBA. Anyway, basically was like, you know, got the dream job opportunity to operate a company in private equity, right? So I did that, left for California. And at the same time when I left the field, I think I also left my sobriety. Like the moment I left, and even though I stayed sober for a bit, I was telling myself, you know, like, in my mind, dude, you've graduated past that stuff. Like now you're doing the big boy stuff. Like recovery and all that is in the past. So I was vaping, right? Actually, I don't even know. I don't think I was even vaping then. Vaping came once I got married. But there was a smoke shop nearby, right? And I was always big online, right? Checking out different things and substances. And then I found out like opiate addicts were saying like, oh, you got to get into this kratom stuff. That was in 2012. So I ended up going and trying it out, and I remember feeling that.
You bought it from a smoke shop?
Bought it from a smoke shop. It might have been capsules. I think it was in capsules, right?
So it was the powder that they loaded in capsules?
They loaded in capsules.
Oh, okay.
That's just what it started with. And I remember taking it and just getting that very familiar, fuzzy, warm feeling of like, oh my gosh, all is good in the world. Like everything is beautiful. And however, it didn't even really take that hard in me. I wasn't even really a huge fan of it immediately. Yeah, but I was like, that thing worked. And so I was like, is there stronger stuff? Is there stronger stuff? Eventually ended up getting to the point where I was getting these extracts that were basically 250 times of the, so what people don't realize is that kratom has about 28 plus alkaloids in it, right? And two of them, one is mitragynine or mitragynine. People say it different ways. And then 7-hydroxymitragynine. Both of those are multiple times the strength of morphine. 7-hydroxy is about 40 times the strength of morphine. So the thing is, in regular kratom, quote unquote, like just plain leaf,
like in the powder or something.
yeah, it's almost like a natural buprenorphine, the way that it works.
Right.
Like, because it's got sealing effects in it. So if you try to take a bunch of that plain leaf is what they call it, then you're going to get what they call wobbly eyes. Like you're going to not feel good. It's going to get to the point where it's dyseuphoric. You're not even feeling great, right?
Yeah.
Well, these extracts, which is exactly what I'm betting are in these bottles. Like from the research I've done there, it's absolutely extracts.
Yeah, it's extracts.
It's completely extracts.
Yeah.
What they do is they engineer the plant to remove the alkaloids that create the sealing effect, right? And then they load it with multiple times. They do extracts of mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine, or mitragynine for anyone want to be technical, right? It's what I was used to call it before back in, 13 years ago.
Right.
But I started getting that stuff, and I would pack 2 capsules, right? Or I'd pack a bunch, but 2 capsules, and I'd swallow that, made me feel more loaded than I did off an 80 in each nostril. So that's a long way of me coming full circle with that point. But
did it drop you? It's the thing that I noticed with kratom and why I kept justifying it heavy is it didn't drop me as hard. And like I didn't ever really feel hungover from it either.
Oh,
you
no.
know how if you did a bunch of pills, then the next day was hard. Like,
right.
Like you didn't get too hungover from it. You
No,
know?
bro. It was a performance enhancer for a while. Like
Yeah.
I would literally be, I wouldn't get to the point where I'd be slurring or where I'd be like just overly aggro. Now granted, I was on a bunch of different substances at the time, but dude, it started being where I'd start taking more and more and more and get into the actual extracts, which is probably what they dilute whatever they're putting in there with, that are just the pure 250x extract, where a couple drops under your tongue and you're feeling just as loaded as you were off something like that. And my point is dude, this quickly, I'm talking quickly, took me back to the point where I was like, dude, oxy's almost less addictive than this, because the half-life of kratom is it exits your system quite quickly, which makes it much more addictive, right?
Right.
And so it's people think that it's just this plant-based, harmless. I sent you an TikTok where people were talking about these little kratom drinks that are mocktails that don't have alcohol in them, that people are saying are a safer or a safe alcohol alternative.
Yeah,
right.
That's one of the big selling points. Alcohol alternative.
Really?
See, and that's, dude, we're about to see the biggest brand new generation of opioid addicts. I always get technical. Opioid is what it is, not an opiate, but a brand new generation of opioid addicts that we've never seen before. Soccer moms, I mean, you name it. Anyone that wants to relax at the relaxation station, right? Or anyone that wants to. It's dangerous, man. It is so dangerous, and it took me down so hard that as I've shared on the podcast multiple times, I was to the point where I was beyond suicidal. I had no idea of how I was going to beat this addiction. I did with Oxy. I knew what I could do there. With this, I had no idea what I was going to do because it was legal. Like I wasn't playing with the law. I wasn't playing with. I wasn't. And now and I'll be honest. This is the sinister nature of addiction. Back in 2014, probably, I remember I had the idea. I had a buddy in my building that owned a smoke shop. I even met with him multiple times and said, dude, I noticed you're selling kratom in there. I have stuff, because I was getting it from a lab who I seriously think is the lab behind all of these, because there's only a couple chemists that know how to do that extraction, at least were the right way. It's a difficult substance to do those extractions with. And one of the McKenna's, like, and we know Terrence McKenna, I forget his brother's name, but he's one of the scientists that kind of helped perfect this extraction. And I would get that stuff. So it wasn't just from smoke shops. I would get it from this lab because I was in the laboratory science space. And I remember taking it to him and saying, like, dude, you need to have some of your kratom people try this. And he would get them to try it. I'm like, just free, have them just like a drug dealer would, right? And here I am being the CEO of a, substantially sized company at the time, but this was starting to take over. And I was like, dude, if I could get this in all the smoke shops, I would have the best flow of money ever. Like, and it would have done, but you know why I didn't do it? Is once I again, I started realizing how bad the problem was. And I said, I can't do that, dude. I can't do that. It's going to lead to people being dead. It's going to take people to fentanyl. Fentanyl wasn't even big then. It's going to take them to heroin. It's going to take them to oxy. They're going to need their opiates if they can't get this stuff, you know?
It's interesting too, because I foresee a lot of people like me and you.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that happened with you, is you were a bad opiate addict, got sober, and then kratom
Correct.
took you back out.
Exactly.
Like I kind of like I'd look at like the same thing with me, and then it's just easy to justify. And I never have, like when you were telling me about your story the other day, my heart was legit racing. I was just like, because I know, bro, I've never had something control me to the point where, like, I know if I went and got that at the gas station, which is just right over here,
Game over.
that I can't stop.
Yep.
I mean, you saw me this last summer. I mean, couldn't stop, you know,
Yep.
and like, I didn't have that. I could shut down a pill habit, you know, and the disease progresses, granted. The disease progresses, and I think it's progressed in my life, you know.
It's progressing right now,
Yeah.
even while you're sober.
Yeah.
It's in the gym working out, doing 700-pound deadlifts. Seriously, until you open that door again and take another bottle of kratom.
Yeah.
And you realize, shit, it's stronger.
Yeah. It's wild, bro. And like, so I don't know, you know, I don't know, like, and it's hard for me. I wonder if we should even be talking about it. Like,
You know,
I want to talk about it, but I wonder down there, like when we're talking, like, is it good to talk about?
dude, it's
Because
such a good question.
I see people's eyes light up. Like,
Yeah, man.
Dude, it's just like when you're dealing. I mean, when I was in when I was in the Bay Area, I'd go down to the Tenderloin, which anyone that's been there knows that's like the open air drug market, kind of like the Block was in Salt
Right.
Lake, right?
The block.
Yeah, the Block. And I'd go down there all the time, and you know, you'd hear people that would talk about, you know, oh, dude, if you take this heroin, or you take, you know, dude, this is the elephant killer. Like, this is the one that, like, dude, you're likely gonna die if you take too much of this. That's the shit addicts want. You know what I mean? You say that's the biggest marketing thing you could possibly say for heroin or something like that, right?
that's wild.
And so when we're talking about it like this with people in recovery, eyes will definitely light up. I mean, it's like, wait a minute, there's something that's legal that I can use and get loaded with. So I've always had that. I've always shared it on the podcast and whenever I'm speaking.
Right.
However, what I've never done is disclose where I was getting it, even any of the websites I was doing. Never once have I said that. Even people that have asked, like, oh, I just want to see some of it. I'm like, bro, I will not give that website out. I will not, because they're still doing it. They're still selling it's basically like, if this is street level cocaine, the place that I know is literally the uncut stuff that they're making, like right inside the Mexican cartel laboratories. You know what I mean? Wow. That's my belief. Like, and I've got a doctor right now in the Bay Area. He's one of the guys that took down Indivior, who's the guys that turned Suboxone into the film. His research was one of the people that took them down. The CEO's about to go into prison.
What do you mean took them down?
So basically, he did a lot of different research, and amongst other things, one of the things that he found out was that this was basically, amongst other things, but that when they transformed it from the pill to the film, the only reason they did that, was to extend their patent. Like, because you only get 12 years on a patent, right? Maybe it's longer with pharmaceuticals. Maybe it's 18. I forget. I think it's 12 still. But he basically exposed, like, dude, there's no benefit to this. Your research of saying why it's a benefit is all a sham. And I mean, he was doing a lot of he was actually doing clinical trials for them, and then he blew the whistle. So,
right.
and so he blew that up. And so we've been talking for the last year and a half about, because I mean, it's so damn pervasive, this stuff, and he's starting to notice it now more. And so he's starting to do a lot of research into this to try to basically really start putting out some good papers and some good, like, clinical data to hopefully make this stuff outlawed, which I always had a hard time with that, because when I got into kratom, I also bought into the fact that you'd see these PTSD vets, right? Like on YouTube, that literally were like this. They had a tick. They looked like this. They'd take their kratom and they'd be completely normal. They'd be like, dude, I'm good. They canned all their pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, kratom plain leaf is very good for that man. Like it's good in his life, right?
Right.
And I was a big part of the online like sub communities of fighting the legislation that was coming around back then. Cause around that time, 2015, 2016, there were about 6 different states that outlawed it. And San Diego County outlawed it too. San Diego County in California. And sorry, as I've shared with these guys, I'm getting over a little cold here,
You
but
sound great.
anyway, but the point, I'm just self-conscious about it, you know?
Yeah.
But the, it's, dude, there was a big push to outlaw it. And then it almost seems like it just kind of got left behind. They did start getting Orrin Hatch, a former Utah senator. They got a lot of big boys lobbying for them. But dude, what people don't know is that the kratom industry, even back in like 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, it's got a bloody history. There are literally murders from owners of different kratom distribution companies that were killing each other. Like these guys weren't even gangsters, but they just saw how much money is in it. So this is literally like the cartels are a dangerous thing, right? Like the fentanyl coming across the border, very dangerous. The problem is that these right here are going to take people to that. People that you never even thought would have been addicts before. I mark my words, dude. Mark my words. It's back in the day, it was like, okay, you'd need to go to a smoke shop and even the right smoke shop. Now, ever since you told me that you noticed it, what, a year ago?
Yeah.
I think I was in like a year ago right now, right?
March, yeah, is when I
I was going to say like a year ago, right? Yeah, it's March now. That you were telling me about that, and I started paying more attention, and I'm like, holy shit, because I'd always see like bags of kratom powder in the vape shops, and dude, never attracted me. Ever since I got sober this last time, again, learned not to take it for granted. Same exact situation. But then now I'm seeing it everywhere, and I'm like, dude, it is too available. You told me they're starting to give them away for free?
Well, that dude just hooked me up that day, and it wasn't his fault. Like, he felt bad. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know that it was going to be that I was going to end up doing 10 a day of them. I mean, I remember he's like, bro, I'm like, bro, it ain't your fault. It's just like,
yeah, but dude, do you know how much money those guys stand to gain? Those things are turning over like crazy. So maybe he didn't. I'm not trying to call him out, but I'm saying that Maverick is literally a huge drug dealer now. Like, I know it might sound extreme what I'm saying, but dude, you're talking to 2 people on this podcast right now whose lives were taken down from this shit, who've been able to stay.
This dude's too.
You too.
Oh yeah, bro.
I didn't get to hear your whole story about that yet.
I'm well versed.
So you get it, man. Like, it takes you all the way down. And before I thought it was like, okay, it can help. I think it has and it could have a use case if used properly in detoxing someone. But it's like, so can anything else, right? Like there's already pharmaceuticals that can do that. You don't need to fuck with this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, we have no idea what are in these different things. They say they measure out the milligrams, et cetera, but it's like, okay, what's really in them? Back in the day, 2011, 2012, before I'd gotten into it, because I always like to research anything I'm getting into.
Yeah.
Dude, they were making little drink type things. They didn't look like that, but they made little drink type things, and they were putting O-desmethyltramadol in it, which is tramadol is an opiate, right? But they were putting that in it because they didn't want to spend the big money for the extracts that the big boys were holding on to. And so they would just add that to it. And that led to big busts and people getting taken down. But it's a dirty industry, dude.
Do you
think you see it at Maverick, it's not dirty? It's dirty, bro.
Do you think that like it'll ever be outlawed in gas stations? Like, will it be illegal, or is it going to be too hard? I mean,
well, so my buddy's working on that right now. And again, he's got big reach when it comes to getting good grants, and his research is very impactful, as you can tell. I mean, he took down a huge pharmaceutical company and their executives. And again, it's outlawed in a lot of states. I forget which ones now. Wisconsin.
I think Arizona is one of them, maybe or maybe not.
Wisconsin. I mean, I want to say Delaware. I knew Delaware, Wisconsin. I mean, dude, let's check it out right now. Let's see which states are actually understanding it. And again, as we all know, like we're not stupid. We're as bad of addicts as you've ever seen. We know that just because you outlaw something, it doesn't make it
go away.
That you can't get it. But I'm talking if you just get it out of the gas stations where you have so many unsuspecting people, like maybe people are sick of the flavors of 5 Hour Energy and they're like, I want to try one of those ones instead.
Yeah, and then they're taking 2 perk 10s basically.
Dude, yeah, exactly. And it's, I'm going to say, what states outlaw kratom.
Hopefully you're using Chat GPT instead of Google.
Of course, bro.
Probably.
Come on, dude. I've been using ChatGPT for 2 years now, bro.
Me too.
I spend probably $300 a month on just different AI services. It's bonkers. Okay, so Alabama, Arkansas, Indiana, Rhode Island, Vermont, Wisconsin. So far, 1, 2, 3, 6. It's still 6.
So they don't allow it in their state.
Yep.
You can't sell it.
So listen, so in Arkansas, both metragenine and 7-hydroxymetragenine, the primary active compounds in kratom, are listed as Schedule 1 controlled substances, rendering it illegal, right? In Indiana, just the leaf and its constituents are categorized as synthetic drugs, and their possession or sale is prohibited. Rhode Island, the state has designated basically the same thing, their active compounds as controlled substances. Vermont, same thing, the metra and the 7-hydroxymetra. And then Wisconsin, on its active ingredients. So, and here's what's so dangerous about it, man, and just some more science. So when we think back to, just getting a little geeky for a second, when we think to the oxy that we used to use back in the day, right? Or even heroin, when you use that, it acts on your mu opioid receptors, right? Like that's what it acts on. When you're using this stuff, dude, this receptors it acts on are not only the mu, but also the kappa and the delta receptors. So we're talking, this stuff is attacking your brain with basically naked, sexy women. You know what I mean? Like stuff that's extremely hot and attractive to it in ways that even regular opioids don't do.
So my therapist, that's crazy. So my therapist who he's working with a lot of people with kratom right now. And so he studied it and he said that it acts similar, not only opiate, but amphetamines.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you're kind of, is that what you're talking about? It hits both those amphetamine receptors. He talked about, so people that like amphetamines and opiates, it plays on that same productivity, same kind of speed-like receptors as well as opiate.
Yeah, so if you even take out the extracts, one of the things that especially, like I keep going back in the day, because again, people act like this is something brand new, but I've been fighting this shit for 13 years, you know what I mean? Like with whether it be on one-on-one conversations, whether it be that I'm speaking, whether I'm doing the podcast, talking out against it. Right. But people with plain leaf would always say, you know, hey, if you want it to act like an opioid, do higher doses, not the extracts, just regular plain leaf. If you want it to act like a stimulant, do lower doses, which is interesting, but that is how it worked. And then there's different veins and things like that. But basically, that it is true. Like it acts on all the different receptors that an opioid itself doesn't do.
Is that why I never got so dark on a substance as I did with the kratom too? Like not that I was suicidal, like to where I was actually had a plan and was going to do it.
But just the hopelessness.
Just like, oh, dude, like just getting so like, I had a lot of thoughts of like, just wish a truck had hit me. Yeah. Or bro. like kind of just being like, like a lot of that. Yeah. Type of thinking. You know what I'm saying? And
absolutely.
I just wonder, like, it seemed like I got super dark on it. But at the same time, it lied to me because I felt like I was pretty good with my wife and kids. Which
that's what it does.
Which is a lie, but like I wasn't as aggro as you said or irritable, right? As I would, how you get when you're taking pills or Roxy's or just lower tabs or something. You're really irritable, right? That didn't happen with. So I think that's dangerous.
It made me aggro as hell.
Did it?
Yeah.
It was off and on based off how much I did.
By the end of it, dude, like I specifically remember that same just irritable feeling from being on pills. Yeah. Just like fucking just the tone of somebody's voice is just like grinding against chalkboard. Like, that same thing would happen to me. And I couldn't control my emotions when I was deep in kratom. I would lose it.
Really?
See, and I thought same thing what Dustin said. Like I was like, man, I'm a much better leader. I'm a much better manager. I'm a much better, operator. I'm so much better at all these things. And the only thing that kind of put a kink in that is I had gotten married. I'd gotten to kratom just months before I got married, just mere months. And I was like, I should probably be honest with her about this. Probably should have done that before the wedding, not after. But and she was like, oh, you need to stop that. You need to stop that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And And I started to back up being like, babe, look, I'm so much better at this. I'm so much better at this. But the thing is, I was letting something control me. As I started increasing my dose and started making sure that it was euphoric every time and not just like taking the edge off, you know, and making sure that it was massively euphoric, then I started getting that same aggro vibe. You know, it would start with just a massive dose of energy in the beginning of the day. And then it would turn into just that same thing, like, oh, I couldn't wait to jump out of my car and rip someone's windshield wiper off at a stop sign to just start smacking their car with it. You know,
100%.
just angry.
Yeah,
And part of it was too just that hopelessness. It's like, you know what sobriety's like, you know what recovery's like, you know what being in control of your own life without having to go and get a substance is like. And then when you lose that, dude, that's also another dose of just trauma. I always tell people, you know, there's so many addicts that I'll talk to or work with that will say, you know, I'm just an addict. Like, I don't have any trauma though. And I'm like, listen, just the fact that you're using something that you know you can't stop, you're harming yourself. Like, that is traumatic in and of itself. Like, that is real trauma. And this is literally trauma in a bottle, dude.
Yeah.
It's
just so everybody knows, this is a 5-hour energy, but this is what it looks. It's in a similar, like, it's sold to you in a little shot.
Yep.
And that's what's dangerous. You know, we've had some kids be on it.
How young?
Young, 15.
Ooh, boy.
So there's a gas station that was selling it to them, and that drives me nuts.
Do they put it? Is there even an age limit? Do they ID you when you buy it?
Yeah, I think, what is it, 18?
They'll ID you at Maverick and shit.
So they do ID.
yeah.
Okay, I
think it's 21. Just because
Is it 21?
That's the Utah laws with like tobacco and stuff.
yeah.
Now. But you know, like these ghetto gas stations, they don't care.
Oh
They
yeah,
don't care.
they don't care. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these brands are using some things like desmethyltramadol, or actually putting some synthetic opioids in it because they don't want to pay the money for how expensive some of that stuff can be.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it was done 10 years ago. People probably found out this. If they're like, we don't sell to Mavericks, we just sell to these kind of lower end gas stations. I could see it.
That's like a can of worms I've been thinking about diving into, finding out, because since I've been off it, I've noticed tons more products coming out too, and they've got pills now, extract pills. But the thing that trips me out about those is they're like the old extracts would be 150 milligrams of mitragynine, and it would be like a certain percentage of 7-hydroxy. But then there's pills on the shelf now that are advertised as 30 milligrams of 7-hydroxy, which makes me wonder if they're full on making synthetic 7-hydroxy now.
It's very possible.
That could get way dangerous.
Oh,
that's like you could actually overdose and probably die.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Isolating that and making that synthetically is so dangerous.
Because from the natural compound that it's supposed to be in a leaf, like you'd have to eat 50 grams of dried leaf to get even close to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the extracts that I was dealing with, which was the powder. I don't even want to use the name of it because if you Google it, you'd be able to find it. But the powder, as well as the drops, it was drops. Like it would literally wouldn't be a drink. You drink that much. So listen, that much size of the stuff I would used to get, no joke, would have been $400. That size of liquid, right? And then the pills were extracts as well, and they were I'm trying to think up when I was making on that. Oh, and in terms of the milligram, 250 times the extract. So they would extract those two alkaloids from 250 grams of leaf to put into 1 gram of leaf. You know, so and I'd like to know if it's really 30 milligrams. You know, I mean, if they're starting to isolate and make it synthetically, there's no saying where this thing is going, and these states are ahead of the curve at the same. But because you're saving the average person that wouldn't normally go to like a street level dealer or a smoke shop, right?
Yeah.
The Mavericks, I think we should start a big petition and start making a big fuss. I mean, there are some big forces behind it that, you know, might have even been drug dealers in the first place, but it's scary, man. I mean, there's nothing relaxing about getting an addiction. You know what I mean? Relaxation station.
So when I was going when I was bad into them, I was in Provo one day, and I went into this smoke shop, and this is last summer, and they had like they had the Feel Freeze, and then they had this other green one that was by the same company, and
same company.
Yeah,
interesting.
Same looked just like a Feel Free, but it was green and but it was called something else. I can't remember.
Interesting.
And I was talking to the guy. I was like, "Bro, how do these? What do these look like? Like, do you sell these off the shelf?" And the guy's like, "People come in and buy them we sell it like
by the box.
By the box,
absolutely,
by the box a day." And
of course,
so he has me. I buy a couple Feel Frees. And then he's like, you should try this one. And he throws that one in. And he said, this one has a more, kind of like you take a Xanax. I mean, at these smoke shops, they talk to you different than the gas station too.
Of
in
course.
drug terms.
Yeah. And he's like, this one's like taking a Xanax and an opiate.
Jesus.
Probably was a red vein or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. And it was like I took a Xanax and a pain pill.
Like identical.
It's just, it's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? That is such a dangerous thing. I mean, I don't even like talking about it because
I'm with you.
It makes me feel like this whole episode needs like a straight up disclaimer.
Seriously. Seriously, I mean,
I don't know, but how do you tell people about it without telling people about it?
That's the hardest part. I mean, it almost needs the disclaimer of like maybe some of the clips of what we've said ahead of time, like, like a few, 30-second clips to start it off where it's telling people ahead of time how fucking bad it is. Maybe we do a disclaimer after this when we sit down and face the camera and actually do one, because it's like if you're the type that is going to hear about something that is available and extremely strong, and you think that might be scary for you you think that's going to be dangerous for you, now's the time to tune out. Yeah. And as we know, most of us have that extreme curiosity, that addict curiosity where we might tune in, but someone's got to say it. And at least we're saying it by saying it destroyed our lives completely. I'm talking completely. If I said everything that I had going on in my life, which was truly as a, 28 to 32-year-old, like I had everything you could possibly imagine. And, as someone who had graduated with my degree, I was literally doing what I thought I was destined to be doing, and it slowly dismantled every single one of those things, from the job to the wife to every relationship that I'd had. Yeah. I mean, I went from being the CEO with his open door I was turning a company around, everyone come in, open door, anyone that has a grievance or a concern or an idea, suggestion, come in, let's work on it. I would get to the office, I would literally park in the back. I'd be late as fuck. I'd go park in the back, and I'd literally sometimes maybe take an extra nap. I'd pull my seat down all the way, trying to hide from my employees, wait till I thought it was maybe lunchtime where I could sneak in, and maybe they thought I was gone for a morning meeting. Dude, it destroyed everything. And I would just go in my office and I'd just hide. I would close my door, lock it, wouldn't even let my assistant in, and would just hide, dude. And everything just slowly crumbled around me. And again, as people know, I was going to as I've shared in the past, I was going to the Golden Gate Bridge every single week trying to decide which light post to jump from. And I'd find the most depressing one, like, okay, this guy in the 40s, this elevator salesman jumped with his 3-year-old daughter. And I'm like, that's a pretty sad story. Maybe that's the one it took me to that point, and I was never suicidal, and I went to actually do the act. Yeah. But I had never been to that point with plain, quote unquote, plain opiates before. Yeah. Never had gotten to that point. So it could have been the fact that I knew what recovery was like, but I think it was just that it was such a worse addiction that I couldn't fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, the thinking errors that existed in me. I mean, you remember me. I mean, I had to go.
You weren't yourself.
What's
man.
wild about it is the physical withdrawals. I go to detox 4 times, and I could have grinded through the detox, but going to Michelle's gave me every time I went to Michelle's, I could stop picking them up.
Right.
That was like
That's
one of the
trick.
main reasons. And the leg stuff. I mean, all the leg stuff, which drives me nuts.
I got that from kratom.
For weeks.
Yeah. Sweating so much every night. Dude, I got to the point where my lady was like, you can't sleep in the bed when you're withdrawing from kratom like this. Like, get out of here.
She couldn't sleep.
You just wake up in a wet spot.
And just kicking and rolling around.
So I know,
But it's that the people need to know that. Like, it's not just a psychological addiction.
No, dude, it is.
You're getting wrapped up physically the same way you would any other opiates. It's in the gas station.
People need to realize that everything that they're hearing right now coming from us three is coming from people that had prior major opiate addiction.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like, I was doing heroin and pills. I had a prescription for oxys for years, and we're talking about kratom like it took everything from us.
Exactly.
So do not take it for granted.
Yeah, we're not
Straight
people that are
up.
saying that we tried this thing. We weren't addicts before, and we tried this and it took us down. Like, we've got experience with the worst of the worst opiates. I mean, I used to cut the 100 microgram fentanyl patches open back in 2004, and just throw the whole gel under my tongue that's supposed to last a cancer patient 3 days on their arm, And so we've done and of course I never jammed a needle in my body for that, but for opiates, but still I was as degenerate as one could possibly be. And it's dude, it's just a different vibe when you talk about the physical withdrawals and being in the bed with the wife. I remember October of 2013, I was so like she had never seen me in withdrawal before, and I was literally in bed. I mean, we're talking shit stains in the underwear, the sweats, like the whole bed soaked like I peed it, which I didn't, and I never really had restless leg from regular opiates before, never, but I had the RLS extremely bad. I remember I went into the bathroom and I saw underneath the bathroom sink, I had muscle milk, and then I also had this little bag of a sample that they had sent me of an even like stronger version than even those or still those 2 alkaloids, but something that had a very speedy effect to it. They added some other things, which I want to get into about what I think we're going to be seeing next, which is dangerous. Right. And but I remember I literally was like, okay, thank God. I dumped it in, drank the muscle milk, went back in the room. I still remember vividly like what was on the TV. This was 12 years ago. What was on the TV? Because it was just so much excitement. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to not feel so. But not only did I not feel bad, within an hour, I was showered. I was ready to go. I was like, let's go to a pumpkin patch. Let's go, let's go. We literally went on a 2-hour drive. I was playing the same song over and over and over, like just in that super addictive mode, and we had a great day. And so when you have that type of reinforcement, it's like, dude, I can't ever go off this,
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the other versions of what they were seeing, which I have not seen in any of these yet, there's stronger stuff for when the market has basically consumed enough of these that they're going to be like, all right, now we're going to do this. People just start upping the doses. They're going to throw some other things in. But there's the same laboratory that was based out of Chicago. I think they've moved to Wisconsin now, that was doing these extracts years ago, and every single kratom place that was selling it was getting them from these guys. Like it was just known. A lot of them would admit it in some of the forums. But if you're looking for like a cocaine substitute, like a meth, I don't know, meth might be a bit strong, but it doesn't surprise me. Those are on the way, dude. They might have a relaxation
like
station,
an ADHD
and then
one or something.
Something like that, where they make they call these focus, but wait till they start releasing those into the market, dude. It's just scary.
A branding tactic, like those feel frees, like feel free.
Yeah.
And then I sent you that clip that it was on Rogan, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was a trip,
that's
bro.
what shocked me when you sent that.
Here I am in rehab, and I was at Michelle's, and I just was scrolling, bro, and all of a sudden Joe's got it. And I hear Joe talking about
his experience with it, like that he actually used it.
Well, yeah, and he's like, those things. I don't know what's in those things, but like,
I remember vividly when you sent that.
And
to
then
me.
there's that whole lawsuit there's a whole lawsuit. Some dude, same story.
Yep.
Opiate addict, recovery, ran into these, was doing 10 to 15 a day, you know. And there's another, so one of the times I'm in Michelle's, right?
Right.
I come out, this was before I came back into here. There was a dude I hadn't seen in a while, like for a long time. And I was like, how you been, bro? He's like, oh, dude, I'm back in here. And I was like, really? What, from what? And he's like, oh, bro, I got into these things from the gas station. And he has no idea that I just too. And he's like, I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it's the stuff called kratom. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, bro, they're called feel frees. And I was like, oh.
You're like, oh, this is fucking familiar.
Me too. Is the same dude. Had like a year sober off of, you know, came through SOAR.
Yeah.
Came through SOAR to get sober, was doing good, and then ran into the feel freeze at the gas station.
Got taken back out. You know, dude, here's one. It's tragic, man. People go and they get such good recovery like you offer here. You know what I mean? Such a good community. Everything you'd want in getting sober. Like you've got everything you want. Physical health. You've got emotional support. You guys talk about intellectual things. It's everything, and just it's right there. It's present. Sometimes you just want to feel different, and you're going to take it. It's going to take you out, dude. When I went to the ibogaine place in 2016 to work to get off these things, so there were 6 of us there, and 3 of them were heroin addicts. The other 2, I want to say, some opiates, but they were like, one was coke, one was meth. They of course they had opiates mixed in, but you're supposed to stop taking morphine, or no, they have a cap on the amount of morphine they'll give you per day before the experience, right? I was the only person that they didn't have a cap for, because the doctors there knew that the stuff that I was taking was far more difficult to get off of than what they were on. We're talking heroin, fentanyl, etc. And they were like, listen, when you need morphine, you just let us know. Like, you just come up and you let us know. Try to do it away from the other people so they don't feel jealous.
And this is from kratom extracts.
This is from kratom extracts.
This is
100% kratom extracts.
That's when you went and did the ibogaine experience.
Correct.
The one that you were trying to get me to. Same place you were going to send me.
Same place, yep. Well,
I appreciate that, by the way.
Of course,
this
man.
dude's like, I mean, I didn't really know what to do, and he was, you know, helping me through everything, and he was going to pay for me to go to fly to Mexico. I just appreciate that.
Well, it's badass
that you were going to do that for me. Like,
badass.
Well, the amount of lives you help, man, like the amount of people that look up to you, and I know that it would be paying it forward in a way that multiplies. It's almost like if you donate, you know, $100 somewhere, and you know that they're gonna flip that into like 1,000x, and it's gonna be $100,000 that they're gonna give to someone. You know what I mean? Like that's what it would be like. And plus, I mean, just how close we are. But I knew that you would be helping so many other people with your story. But what was so difficult, man, is like you were having such a hard time. Like you kept going into detox, you kept doing the things that you're supposed to do there, but you did not have a belief that you could get clean. Like even with as much recovery as you've had, as many hardcore addicts as you've helped get sober, like you still didn't believe it was even possible. And then and so that's kind of what I work with a lot of clients, people that have tried everything to get sober, and you hadn't tried residential yet. You know what I mean? Like you were gonna go that route, or you did.
Well, I went into Wasatch for 3 days.
For a few days, that's right. You went in for a few. Did you relapse when you came out, or did you stay? That's right. You stayed sober. I think that kind of made you realize.
Some people need 30, 45 days. I needed 3. And and everyone, when I was leaving there, like, and I felt bad because I wanted to finish their program. Like, it was sick. Yeah. And I'm thankful for but those 3 days were a big deal in my life. Like the people there, and I know, but you know, I quit. Like, and I was telling those dudes because they thought I packed all my stuff and I was going to go walk down to the gas station because they wouldn't give me my phone.
Right.
And then,
watch how bad I can hurt me.
Yeah. But I literally, I had some experiences before, like when I was going off to rehab, my little girl was crying, and that hit me. I was like, oh. And like,
For sure.
and I kind of made up my mind then. I was like, you know what? This is hurting my family. Like I saw something that I hadn't been seeing, and I was like, I'm done. Obviously, no one was going to believe that. So
Of course.
but it was those 3 days in Wasatch. I will always speak highly of Wasatch.
Absolutely.
Their program,
Likewise.
the organization of their program, Todd and all those dudes, like
Yeah.
it was just it was going to be a better situation for me to be able to do that partial hospitalization program. So I went into a PHP,
Right.
and then gave up my keys, gave up my car, money.
Beautiful.
Freaking woke up in the morning. My dad picked me up, went and worked out with him, and then went to PHP from 10 to 6.
See, and you're
And
one
then
of
slept at home, and it was just a better. It's just I my kids are so far along, and I couldn't not be around, and it was better because then when I needed to go back to work, I was already kind of in the world. I didn't just go in somewhere and then have to come right out and go back to work.
right. And I know that was one of your big concerns, and that was one of my huge fears when you left early, because I left the ibogaine place one day early after
Yeah, you told me
everything,
that.
and relapsed within 24 hours, and then was right back on the kratom shit until I went to Wasatch in November of 2016, and that's my sobriety date, November 15th, when I went into Wasatch. So it helped me, but I
2016?
needed 2016.
Oh, wow.
So almost 9 years, but I needed that 30 days. Had I done 3, it wouldn't have worked. But however, it worked for you. You know what I mean? And PHP worked for you. And so thank God, man. I mean, you had a lot of people praying for you, bro.
You know what Decker said? Because I was going to leave the first day.
Yeah.
Decker's like, he comes over and he's like, bro, you got to do this. He's like, you got to, you're not going to be a welcome back at SOAR. You're not, you got to you need to get sober. Like was pretty hard on me. And I appreciate that. And so it was a hard decision for me to leave that Wasatch, because I felt like I honestly was worried about what everybody was thinking here, like, oh, we quit. But then I just said, you know what? The only thing I need to quit is doing kratom, and I'm going to do that.
Right.
And I worked hard. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Dude, you're back.
It'll be like 6 months. 6 months next week.
You've got that light again, bro.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, you did not have that light. You know what I mean? Like it was different. That's what happens to us, man. It turns the light off. It literally turns the light off. Yeah. So if at all you're listening to this episode and you're thinking like, oh, I can't wait to get to Maverick unless you've already gone. Hopefully you haven't. Just know you're literally electing to turn your light off. Like you really are. Like that light is going to leave you so quickly. And if you've been an addict in the past, dude, it's not going to be long before you're either back to your drug of choice or you stay on this, whichever is likely cheaper. But this is what I always tell people. Let me tell you how costly this was for my life. So
it's expensive.
Dude, just wait.
30 grand in 6 months is
exactly
in the I hate to even disclose that.
No, but I remember breaking those numbers down for you. Remember, I was like, Dustin.
Yeah, well, with the detoxes, paying, that thing, and then treatment, and then spending $10 a piece, you're doing 10 a day. I mean, I'm not a wealthy man.
No.
That's $3,000 a month. I remember telling you because you were thinking should I, you're like, I might just need to keep taking these. And I was like, Dustin, the use is going to keep growing. And also, dude, do you have $3,000 a month just laying around in extra cash?
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck, no. I'm like, that's the fucking math, dude.
Yeah. When I finally sat down and did the math after a year of taking kratom, like 2 or 3 extracts a day or whatever, it was like 15 grand.
Yeah.
Just on kratom shots.
Kratom.
Yeah. Bro, I was like, where's all my money? And I did the math, and I was sitting there with my mom, and it just made me fucking cry, bro. I was like, dude, I just worked so hard all year, thought I was doing so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm working all good. I'm getting my business going. And then I spent all the fucking money on kratom.
You're like, imagine if you had that 15K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of that. Yeah. And it goes by so quickly, and it's like, but how can that happen? It's just $10 a piece.
Yeah.
Dude, I literally will put my kratom financial losses against anyone's in this entire world. No, the entire world. I challenge anyone to find worse. And let me tell you why. So I was I was spending, the place that I'd get it from, there were only two options. You could either pay COD, cash on delivery, which but FedEx would send it to you. You'd have to give them a cashier's check or a money order when they delivered it, right? Or Bitcoin. And so I was spending between 5 and 10 Bitcoin per week. Well, let's just go off the price that it was in the last couple months, $100K. That means I was spending between $500,000 and $1 million a week if I were to just have kept that Bitcoin. So
that
we're talking
sick,
for
dude.
for 2 years of doing that same amount weekly, and of course price fluctuated, etc. But just on average, that's what it would end up being. Dude, we're talking that would have been basically $100 million had I kept all of that Bitcoin that I just spent on that. So, dude, it's so sad when I look back and I'm like, I was early into Bitcoin, less than $100 when I first got into it. And, but I used nearly all of it for my habit, dude. Nearly all of it. Something that could have literally changed my financial life for generations to come. Yeah. 9 figures, like that's disgusting, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's disgusting.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that is, bro. That's a lot of money.
It sure is.
What do you think's going on with the fentanyl? Like, so we just had a buddy die. So they're selling those, and they call them blues. Did you know that?
Well, because they press them to look like Roxy's.
That's what they always used to call Roxy's.
Yeah, that's
blues.
what they called. Yeah, but I knew that was what they called Roxy's, and that's what they're calling them now.
Well, because they make them look like Roxy's.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the deal? Like, so it's cheaper. Like, why is the fentanyl? I mean, so they can't get it from the pharmacy. You got people pressing a fentanyl pill, and they're making them look like Roxy's.
Yep.
And so they're just measuring out like this much fentanyl, or is
Hopefully.
there like I mean
that's the thing, dude.
How is it?
You can't, like, that's one of the things. So I've got a buddy that I got to reach out to him today actually to see how he's doing. But he was a guy that I was using with back in 2005. Sadly enough, I'm the one that gave him his first Roxy, and sadly, I can say that for a lot of people, which is something I have to atone for all the time, because not all of them are alive. And I gave them their first opiate, because they looked at me like, oh, you've got everything going on. Like, dude, you're doing grad school. It's like, yeah, dude, but it's, and they went out so hard. And he told me, he's like, Don, if I had one of these or an actual Roxy 30, like sitting next to each other, I would take the fentanyl one every time. And he said, and all it's basically doing is making me go to sleep. Like, it's making me go to sleep, and then I wake up and I take another one. He goes, it goes out of your system so fast, the half-life, that he's like, it's you just have to keep going and going and going.
So that's because that's what they said. Everybody I've talked to. So I've never done the fentanyl and been in that game, thank goodness. But like all the people I've been in treatment with, and I hear them talk to it, is they just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, all those dudes you see on those reels in the cities, and they're just hunched over.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just the fentanyl game. It's turn them into zombies. There's
literal zombies.
I wouldn't like that. There's no I guess opiates and amphetamines and everything for me has been to enhance
that's always been what mine does, but it tips that tipping point to where you just need to escape now. Like now you've destroyed and maybe you don't have that same story, but you destroy your life so much. Like, again, once I already had to step down from the company I was operating, once I already had lost my marriage, and it was then I didn't have anything to enhance anymore. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, what am I going to enhance? How hard I watch TV. You know what I mean? You can't enhance it.
Yeah. Okay.
So then it was at that point just an escape. And basically taking it, they feel a little bit of euphoria and then sleep. It's like you're just escaping. You just do not want to look at what you've turned your life into.
Jeez,
and escaping is what most addicts, way most of us keep using, is just to escape.
They're cheap too, aren't they? Like $10 a pill.
I don't know the price. I would imagine they're not. Well, given the competition of the different cartels probably trying to beat each other, absolutely.
I think they're cheap. Like, you can go down. People talking about you go down on the block, and you're buying them for like, you can get them $10 a pill. But
that's cheap. Because if back in the day, if you were to get a Roxy, you were paying $30 a milligram.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. They got
dude, $10 is
$25-$30.
See, and that's how much a balloon of heroin used to be back in the day. Like if I'd get a balloon of heroin, it was $10. I don't even know what they charge. You probably can't even get heroin anymore. It's all fentanyl.
Nah.
really,
You know? Oh yeah, dude. It is so scary what we're dealing with, man. And you know, Trump's obviously doing this big new push against the cartels. Which,
so is that where it's coming from? Is it not from the United States? Like, is a lot of the fentanyl and stuff?
oh yeah, dude.
Is it manufactured in China mostly?
China's where all the, at least that's where all the precursors are. I think they have labs in Mexico now that are actually getting the precursors from China, and then they're actually they're turning them into fentanyl there so that they don't risk the Chinese to Mexico shipment, right? But dude, it's we're talking, it is such a big billion-dollar game, and that's what, dude, the cartels aren't even big. I mean, sure, they still do meth, they still, you know, manufacture meth and things like that, but fentanyl is what they're, I mean, dude, look at the cities, Portland and San Francisco, cities I used to love, Seattle, that used to just be so vibrant with life, and now you look at it, it's literal zombies, like just walking around. And you know what the saddest part is? There will be people, I've even done it myself, there'll be people down there talking to the people on the street, you know, trying to basically be missionaries for recovery.
Right.
Being like, you know, hey, listen, you interview the person, you talk to them, you get to know them. It's like, you know, hey, look, I'd like to send you to a treatment center. I've either got one that's volunteered to help, or I'm willing to put the money up for you to get sober. And they're like, I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
In those cities, they're literally giving them money to use. Some of them are getting, you know, $1,000 a day plus. But these cartels, man, they are so, it's going to be such a hard thing to fight. And even if we fight that successfully, we still got these bad boys at the gas station.
Well, and even if you pull it all out, like, then you just have a bunch of addicts that, it's like what happened with in the pharmaceutical industry with the big pharma and everything. Like,
right.
once they knocked that down and they messed up, or they cut down, they made the oxys different where you couldn't snort them.
Right.
Remember what they did to them?
I remember vividly. You'd get the gunk in your nose because it'd be like the footballs. They'd have the little gel balls in them that you'd try to crush it up, and it would just turn into a paste in your nose.
Once they did that and they cracked down that's when the heroin took off, because now you don't have all these people going to the doctor anymore. When all those, this is what my understanding.
No, you're 100% right. You're telling that's exactly what happened.
It's like they knock down you knock down some fentanyl, right? You get it so where it's not as accessible, but then you got all these people that are addicts, and so what's gonna take that place? Like, you know, I mean,
hopefully recovery. Like, you know, I mean, hopefully recovery. But the thing is, you know, it's going to, I mean, these are where they're going to take their place. Like, you know, people are going to they're going to find their way to something. The more hard you make something to get. And as we know, there's no way to fully eradicate things, especially when you look at the makeup of some of these cartels. It was just found out about 2 weeks ago that the cartel that's the most successful, it's not the Sinaloa cartel that was like, you know, Chapo's thing. It's the Jalisco cartel, New Generation, the CJNG. And this cartel is a military wing that used to be part of the Sinaloan cartel that decided to start selling drugs. Whereas all the other cartels are like, they're cartels that decided to kind of become paramilitary wings, you know, get all the equipment and stuff. And it was just found out 2 weeks ago that these things are so profitable that 4 of the top executives for the CJNG are 1 Delta Force operator, 2 Navy SEALs, and 1 Army Ranger. They're actually in the upper echelons of that cartel. So that makes this war on drugs quite interesting, because currently we can't basically go kill American citizens, you know? And they're American citizens.
And so, like, American citizens are part of the cartel.
Not only part of it, they're in the top leadership positions, and not just American citizens, dude. The top warriors on the planet. A Delta Force, you can't get more elite than a Tier 1 operator. SEALs, you know, I mean, they're up there as well. And then a Ranger, I mean, dude, you're talking people that know exactly how our military works. So this is going to be a very interesting war. Should we actually start picking apart targets down there? I've actually talked to some former Rangers and even some SEALs, and they've said, like, dude, this is not a war we're gonna win. Like, we're just not gonna win it.
Yeah, like what
scary.
You're talking the war on fentanyl. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, essentially what Trump is starting to do, like where he said, he's obviously wanting to stop migration, but he's also wanting to stop the fentanyl at the borders. And so, and also we've currently got Predator drones, CIA Predator drones out over there in Mexico right now that are trying to find the right cartel heads, where they are, et cetera, so that we can do controlled operations and basically go just extract those guys, take them out. But it's such a way of life over there, dude, that it's a scary thing. Like, that was the most groundbreaking information that it came out, that in the top leadership of the most dangerous cartel, we actually have 4 American citizens that have been at the top of the war fighting United States Army or military. So they know everything, dude. In fact, they've already talked about, I got to show you this podcast episode done by a guy that's actually from Salt Lake, a former Ranger, that I'm wanting to, it would be so cool to get him up here to do an episode, dude. Reached out to him yesterday. Anyway, I'll tell you more about that, but he's the one that uncovered this on his podcast called Ironclad. And it's just, dude, they're the most dangerous cartel. People that have actually tried to do missions against them in the past, like Mexican military. Right. Dude, these guys had the drop on them. They literally, these things walked into an ambush, helicopters, planes, etc. Every single air vehicle went down. Like, they were shot down. Almost every single one of the people in the Mexican army doing the raids got killed. Not one casualty on the cartel side. So what's scary is, okay, as we start doing some of these operations over there, how much of a drop are these guys going to have? Because there's corruption where, who knows, in these southern states, senators, house members, who's going to know, who knows how much this information is just going to be led right back to the cartels.
The thing that's interesting about power is, like, dude, how much money is worth it? Like, what do you think? Do you think people want? Like, after they just want recognition, they want the females, they want the like, I guess I just struggle, like, understanding, like, how much money's enough, and people to sling a drug that is just killing people. Like, you cannot feel good about things.
No, you can't. That's like, literally exactly why I wasn't the first one to come to market with these on a large scale. Because I had the plan. I even had I had a laboratory where I could have made them myself, but I couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't deal. But as we see, people deal every single day, dude. And when you're there and you're basically operating an organization, you probably justify it to yourself. Like, hey, yeah. I'm just security. Like, I'm just making sure that these guys aren't doing anything. They probably do a lot for their communities, so, like, they justify it that way, hey, if they want to consume this stuff, they're going to find a way, and we're just going to be the ones providing it.
It's like people who even just work in the beer industry. You can't look at them like they're bad people. Like, if a guy's out there driving a Budweiser truck or something.
Right. Even though they're dying, literally, people are dying from alcohol every single day.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know, when you're out there pushing kratom, that seems a little different, right?
It seems different until you start hearing the stories. Like, if they just started listening to the story of the dude with the lawsuit against him right now, you'd hope that would give pause. But when that's providing jobs for hundreds to thousands of people, their kids are going to good schools, right. They're doing these things. It's legal in the states you're selling it to. They can justify the hell out of it. It's plant-based. Hey, yeah. I remember the way it was marketed back then was, this is a cure for opioid addiction.
Yeah, I heard that.
And now it's a safer alcohol alternative.
You still hear that it's good, like, opiate. It's good to help you get off opiates. People are still using it to get off heroin, dude, or whatever.
This is so funny. I don't know if I can pull it up, but I wish I could call out the YouTube channel. I don't want to do it because I like this guy. He's an MMA YouTuber, right? A pretty well-known one. Used to live actually in Utah. Hold on, I'm wondering which one is.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's
yeah.
That's the axis that's going down. But I made a comment. One of his sponsors is Yo Kratom, right? Which is one that's been around for a long time. It's not one of the big places. But I've got to show you what one of these comments was. If he's even made another comment.
Yeah.
Basically, what it was I made a comment on one of his videos. It was like a Dana White video or something, right? And I said, hey. Because he talks about knowing what addiction's like and having been there before. And he even says how when he's doing his sponsorship for this Kratom sponsor, that he says that he does it before his workout every day. And I commented and I said, hey man, listen, I just want to let you know that I think you should maybe reconsider your sponsorship. If you genuinely have a heart for people in addiction and recovery, then I would certainly reconsider that sponsorship. I've been watching your channel ever since you started it. I think that you should reconsider that. You know what the response I got was?
What?
It was, the way that you talk about this substance makes me think that you've never even tried the substance before in your life, or that you've certainly haven't tried some of the hardcore opiates that this is helping people get off of. And I just 2 days ago, I unleashed with not unleashed. I was very respectful, but I said, I just gave a little bit about my story, just started, rattling off what my entire experience was. He hasn't responded yet, but my whole thing is like, dude, on podcasts, it's being marketed too as just a totally safe thing. One of his other sponsors is like Athletic Greens. What's the difference, right? Oh, these are both greens. These are both plant-based.
That's wild.
It's so scary. It's and they talk, they've got people of all walks of life that watch that, and anyone seeing that is going to think, oh, dude, this is a safe place to get this stuff that I got in the gas station. And it's everywhere, bro.
Yeah, you think it's just going to get worse?
I think it is. I think it's going to truly define a new generation of addicts in this country. Yeah. And mark my words, man. Like, that's why it was attractive to me all those years ago. I'm like, dude, I could get a lot of people on this, which is safer. Like, no one's dying from this, so it's safer than heroin. It's safer than fentanyl. Like, again, I had all the justifications of why I should start selling that myself. And nope, destroyed my life too much, man.
How do you think people... So your line of work, you work with people individually.
Yes.
And it's considered to be the highest level of care, right?
Well, it's can we take a bathroom break real quick? Is that cool? And then are we not live, are we?
No.
Okay.
No,
yeah,
that's fine.
Like I said, I just threw this bad boy down in coffee. I want to get into that just since we're kind of changing topics real quick.
It's fine.
All right, cool, brother.
Chilling.
I just got to pee. I'll be right back. All right, sorry, boys. That's been weighing on me for like 5 minutes.
No, dude, I seen you drinking water, and I was like,
yeah, dude,
he's gonna have to pee.
If I want to have a voice, dude, like seriously, when I woke up this morning, I was like, dude, they're not even gonna let me talk on the pod. They're gonna be like, I can't even hear you on the mic. Yeah. After a nice hot shower, and I probably had like 5 of these today, dude. It's just trying to keep it going.
Yeah, you're good.
But okay, so you'd said
this GoPro back on.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Do you want to re-ask the question, or do you just want me to die? Because you said it's like the highest level of care is what your question was.
Just go back.
You're good.
He'll just cut it.
You're good.
So it's what I like to say is highest level of care is hard. It's like what criteria you're going off of. Hold on, I need to catch my breath from running up the stairs. Damn, need to do more cardio. So cut this part too. Hold on, let me catch my breath.
Cut it. It's fine. It's
okay.
Funny.
All right, dude.
Vaping, bro. It's from hitting.
Dude, it is. It's from. I even do a little bit of cardio.
I can't believe I haven't even seen you hit that thing on here yet.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you,
have you been doing better with it?
Oh, a lot better. Well, the thing is, if I'm like in a meeting or I need to not do it, like way better than how it used to be, dude. Remember, it was like, you know what I mean? It was, dude. We had episodes where it was like, dude, this dude is fucking hitting that like a crack pipe. Like, what's going on, dude? And I won't lie. If I'm on an airplane, I still, that doesn't stop me. If I,
Oh, you just blow it down your shirt?
No, I just ghost it. I just do small ones and ghost it. Not that I'm advocating for that, but it's
What, you just keep ghosting is just swallowing it?
Well, dude, it till nothing comes out.
Dude, I can even be at a restaurant and I'll hit it. And they come and ask me like what my order is, and watch. Like I've got it down, dude. Watch. So let's say they catch me and I'm like, oh, what would you recommend? You know, I can even talk without, a little snuck out, but then almost nothing. But anyway, so highest level of care was your question, is what you do the highest level of care. And I like to say that it's the most customized, the most individualized level of care.
Well, because they hire you and then you live with them.
Correct. So let me first of all step back and tell you what my average client is, like from all the data I've collected. So my average client has already spent $1 million on treatment. They've already been to 12 plus treatment centers, right, and haven't been able to put together even a year's sobriety. And they've usually been addicted between minimum 5 years, but it's usually closer to 10 years. So they've kind of lost faith in traditional treatment. They've lost faith in residential. They've lost faith in AA. It's so interesting that they all lose faith in AA, or they're just resistant because AA is really so good if you work it that it's going to change you, and they don't like that. And so my average client has tried so many different things. And when I or someone that's working with me is working with a client, then we basically start often from the intervention. And I've got some crazy intervention stories. We've shared one on here just of, someone we know basically hitting heroin off a can in the back of a cop car, or cooking it in the back of a cop car. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just some wild situations where these are usually, I get calls when people, usually it's earlier than that, but by the time people are saying like, hey, please do the full court press, and I don't have any military experience, but I do really like to say it's kind of like special forces for recovery, because it's like we deploy, we deploy, we go to the intervention. I might not know if I'm going to see my family again for 3 months. This last client I worked with, I literally once I did her intervention and basically engaged, and she committed to doing whatever it takes, I didn't see my family for 3 straight months. Because we live with them, and then what it's all about is first of all, I always have a rule that I will not work with someone unless or the plan that we so we basically design a very customized plan, and it has to be a plan that if I look at it, the client looks at it, any other stakeholder that's part of the process, like whether it be a wife, whether it be a brother, a sister, an uncle, anyone that looks at it, we believe that if followed, this will lead to success. Like if followed, it will lead to success, And it includes anything. I've been out of the country, getting someone away from their environment, gone out into the desert for a couple weeks, just keep making it so like, dude, try to get some drugs out here, bro. You literally don't have a cell phone. Even if you did, there's no signal. You don't have a car. What are you going to do? We're just going to camp, And
it's a little bit of like wilderness to start it.
Ideally, I like doing that, but everyone's different. Sometimes people aren't for that. Sometimes they have a job. It might be an attorney, right? He's got to be in court in a few days. So the whole point about when I say the most accountable is that, the way it starts is that we're literally with them 24 hours a day, and we're talking that, where we choose to live, whether it be in their own home or, a rental of some place, or even whether it be, it's with a client, it's even been at my house, like off and on between their house and my house, because they had kids half the time. Yeah. And then they wanted to be around kids, so they'd be at my house. But it's, there's literally no opportunity for them to start using. The way it starts, they usually give up control of their car, money, they usually keep money, but they're open to drug tests at any given time, and it's not about coming in and being the hardcore, like, oh, try to pull one over on me. It's more like it's a foreign country trying to fight someone, and we're going in, we're like, dude, we're gonna be your recovery bodyguard. We're literally gonna be your personal bodyguard against your addiction. And so that's really the way that we approach it. And
how long you typically work with people?
So
try to go a year.
So I've had a 13-month, a 14-month, and then recently, 16-month. You know, so I mean that's just 3 different clients. I've worked with some shorter. It's all customized, and I never go off. Here's my thing. I never want them to have to. I never want to work with someone a day longer or a day shorter than is necessary. But I'd much rather default if I'm to err, I'd rather err on the side of a day longer.
Yeah.
And what I really like to see prior to them transitioning to kind of like regular recovery support, which is where you don't have someone by your side like 24/7, it usually steps down to where it's like, you know, okay, maybe it's every other day, or maybe it's, you know, it all changes, because that might not work with some people. Yeah. It's every single situation is different. They all look completely different based on of what's needed. But the whole goal is that prior to transitioning, that they're gonna ideally be to step 5. They're ideally gonna be through step 4, and they're gonna be on step 5 with a sponsor that they've kept the entire time, and that they've got a solid recovery system to where it's like, dude, I love you. We're hanging out, we're having a good time, like we're doing some cool things, but you know, you really don't need me around. Like my goal is to work myself out of a job as quickly as possible, but. You know, the whole point is, having been there as an addict myself and as crafty and as sneaky as possible, it's like we get to see all the same behaviors when someone's running those processes in us. You know what I mean? When they're running those processes. So it's really, I'll just go, for example, this last individual that I worked with. It was a really rough situation where their boyfriend was their coke dealer, and that boyfriend was live-in. And so, I basically went out to it, like I was basically asked, like, you know, full court press, like, you know, do whatever you've got to do, disrupt this situation and help get them clean, right? And so I basically went down to the hotel right next to their place, was down there for a week trying to gain entry, like trying to be like, hey, look, just let's have a conversation, you know what I mean? And they just wouldn't. Finally, after a week, after a threat of like, all right, look, it's going to be a wellness check by the cops then, which isn't going to go so well. Then they were willing to, okay, if I let Don in, you know, then that'll be all right. Well, this dude was still actively selling her the drugs, right? Like still actively supplying her with everything. And the whole thing is, we've got to get to detox, you know, but there was no willingness. It was like, I'm detoxing right now in my room. Like, just look, just let us be like there. I was even asked, look, can't you basically just get paid and just tell my family that everything's going well? I'm like, hell no. I'm like, dude, you have literally the 100% wrong person for that. Like the money's not what I'm looking for. Like I want you to get clean. If you're not getting clean, I'm out. Like I'm literally out, you know? And so then it was like, it took about 12 days of kind of this dance back and forth, but at least it was, but you got to get
her to trust you. And you got to get, okay.
She'd already trusted me at that point, because I'd already worked with her in the capacity of, you know, taking her to, like I'd done a sober escort to a treatment center from, Michelle's before, right. You know? And, but basically what happened is, I mean, it was to the point where this dude, I mean, he's got a violent past. And so, I mean, I was literally, when I was showering with my gun right there in the shower next to me. Like, you know, dangerous situations, right? Like things that could be dangerous, I'd say.
Yeah.
And eventually, fortunately, after fortunately and unfortunately, after a lot of just trying to appeal, like, dude, come here and talk with me, bro. You really realize, like, you are murdering this person slowly. You know what I mean? And then an unfortunate physical situation that did involve the police that kind of made him go on the run for a bit. That was the window of opportunity where and I wasn't there at the time. I was actually waiting at detox because it was like, we just want one more date. We're going to go out to dinner and then I'll meet you there. And it's without getting too much into the long story. Point is that eventually got to detox after a very rough scenario, but it was one that was so enmeshed and codependent and intertwined that it, you know, I mean, the person was already saying like, just like our mutual friend was like saying, just give up on me. Like, please just give up on me. You know, it required a serious intervention of a kind of doing my best to break up that relationship dynamic, to get this person where they eventually went to detox. And then right from there, we kind of, for this specific person, it started in detox. And then it immediately after that, we were out to California to basically just get out of the state, like for a week, because there was something else that we had scheduled. So just get out of the state, so that there was literally no possible way that he could come drop something by and hook her up with something. And then from there, it went
the cravings were so bad for her. Like, so at this point, she hasn't fully committed to getting sober. Like, she's kind of seeing that she wants to, but then like she could do something drastic and just bounce when that craving came in. Like, is that where it was at?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing is it was, like I don't want to share like,
yeah, you don't have to
too much. I just don't want to, I got to get permission to share too much of the detailed, individualized part of the story. But essentially the cravings were so strong, but there was a commitment. Like, by the time we were out of the state, there was a commitment.
She wanted to get sober though.
Yes, wanted to, absolutely. Well, no, at that point, the motivation, as it often is, was just to, now sometimes I work with someone and they're wanting to get sober. That's what they're wanting. But sometimes it's like, I just want my family off my back. So I'm just going to do this dance for a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to do this dance for a little bit. And they try some sneaky things to get some drugs, you know what I mean? And I mean, I'm talking like, I was asked while at detox, can you go back and get my body cream? You know what I mean? And I'm like, or my iPad and this and this. And then as I'm on my way there, and there's a body cream there that, well, my spidey sense already went up, and I'm like, once I get there, the first thing I'm doing is shoving my finger deep in that body cream. You know what I mean? And sure enough, I did that. There was like an ounce of blow, like an ounce of ketamine, like, you know what I mean? And so I basically went back to Michelle and I was like, hey, look, I found this, but if I say that I found it, this is not going to go so well. So I'm just letting you know it's in here. So she pulled it all out, like, I mean, and I stayed on the phone with her the whole time. I'm like, look, just for accountability around the stuff, like, hey, on my way back, here's what's in it. I will risk the drive because I think that it needs to be, if I just toss it and it's just going to be such a fight.
Yeah.
And there was a fight. But anyway, to fast forward a little bit, we went from California to Florida to work with this incredible addiction doctor, and did like a week-long intensive where she did one with her, like where it was basically like 24/7 with the two of them. Well, 24/7 is hard to say, but basically from like 9 to 5, just one-on-one with the doc that's working through a lot of trauma, a lot of individualized stuff. And then from there, after that, and they kind of did this supplement-based recovery thing as well that could have helped a lot, but it didn't really take. But then went and did the ibogaine, flew back over to California, went and did the ibogaine program. And
that help her?
Unfortunately in that case, it didn't. Some of the medications that she was on
like that's what I wondered.
Interfered with the experience. And so
that's like probably your SSRIs and stuff.
Exactly.
Right?
And the thing is, like, they were clear about, like, you've got to be off this amount of time and this amount of time. And we had complied with that, but everyone's different, and we were like, the program we were trying to get into is one that Sean Ryan, the Navy SEAL, he promotes the same exact one. Yeah. And the thing is, it's so hard to get into that one. Like that one had a waiting list for 3 months, but they had one day that they'd be able to make it work for me. And so fortunately, like, it worked out. We were able to get her in, but the medications interfered with it. And then the 5-MeO DMT, which is the second thing that they do, that was like an incredibly dark experience. And so unfortunately in that case, it wasn't as hopeful as I thought it would be. But fortunately with the whole situation was, even though it didn't work, there was still that 24/7 recovery support that it's like, all right, cool, let's go to the next thing.
Like, the question I have is, by this time when she got to the ibogaine stuff, was she still having a leg in, like, was she bought into recovery yet?
Yeah.
Or was she still like, I just checking the boxes?
No, dude, I got to be honest. I got to give this individual credit because first of all, they're sitting here right now at, let's see, September to November, October, November, December, January, February, March. So that's 6. So they're on the 12th, they'll be 18 months sober.
Wow.
Which is super cool for them. Like longest sober time they've had in their adult life, right? And that's one of the cool things that I can say with each one of the people I've worked with is that each one, and it's not credit to me. I think it's credit to the model and a credit to, you know, them really working hard and finding a connection with God that really helped them push forward. But
she found God
and already believed in him, but you know, there's resentment and stuff that often with us as addicts. And it got to the point where this individual was, they were, you know, they had committed to their family. They basically had said the most beautiful letter that you'd ever seen, where they basically had said, you know, that one went out, huh? Sorry, I just noticed the red light's not on that
barely.
one. It was on before I went to the bathroom, I think. I know it was on before. I just don't know if it was immediately before. And yeah, I'm assuming we're not recording right at this moment. I know it's on, but cut this part. I'm just saying because I'm being careful because like even with our buddy, like I never really said much like on an episode or anything until they wanted to tell their story.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be because I'm not saying anything that identifies. Okay.
How long ago did it cut out?
I don't know. Yeah. Not long. I've been 3-4 minutes top.
Yeah, it hadn't been long because I've
not long.
Yeah. Sorry. So, dude, all good, brother. So fortunately to their credit, they within about 2 weeks of like actually going into detox, within 2 weeks, they had wrote the most beautiful letter to their mother. It was her birthday, and basically the birthday present, she got her an amazing birthday present, but the main birthday present was like, you know, calling Dawn was, you know, you've been doing everything for trying to help me for so long, for over 10 years. And, you know, she'd even been through a 2-year program like I had. Like we're talking every type of treatment you can imagine. She's like, you know, reaching out to Dawn and basically trying to, a lot of other pressure was your Hail Mary. And me committing to doing this not 1 day shorter than it's going to take is my Hail Mary for myself. And dude, you'd have to read it in context, but it was the most beautiful letter, dude. So they'd committed. And so that's one of the main things is that I don't like working with someone that's just trying to check the boxes. And if it stays like that for very long, I'm gonna self-select off. I'm gonna say you need to be either with someone else that does sort of what I do, or just got to go to a treatment center. Because there are sober companions, which I don't even like that word, in LA, that they'll just basically work with someone and help them use safely. Or just not help them, but look at Matthew Perry, for example. Like he didn't have that same thing, but essentially they'll just, you know, make sure they don't die. And I'm not in that business. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna work with someone that's
just like
that's
go
still
around
using.
and put their cigarettes out or something like.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, just be someone to
exactly
be around them. Yeah,
yeah,
I could see that.
And dude, there's a market for it. You know what I mean? Because there's people that want to keep using but don't want to die, and they've got all the money in the world. But I'm just not the right person to work with.
So there is a market for that.
Oh, absolutely,
people
dude. Yeah, basically just like, you know, hey, I'm gonna help babysit you, you know, and it's like, I'm gonna help babysit you and make sure you don't die. And
they pay them a lot of money.
They pay them a lot of money. And it's, but you know, that you're just going to see more Matthew Perry cases like that, where there's no way you can keep someone safe using, even if you're a doctor. I mean, look at Michael Jackson. He had a whole medical team. He still died. You know, Matthew Perry, the dude had live-in nurse and a full-time doctor.
What happened with that dude? Was it ketamine?
Ketamine. I think he was doing some other things, but basically, they were
drowned, didn't he? Like in a hot tub. That's what I heard.
It may have been that. I remember looking at this case, looking at his situation and reading a lot about it. It could have been that. I just know that they had found that the amount of ketamine prescribed by the doctor was way beyond what you were even supposed to possibly give. Plus, finding a way to get some additional ketamine on the side, and not like just off the street. Yes, off the street. There were some street dealers that were also pushing it to him.
Ketamine's big right now too, huh?
See, it's another thing that's being allowed now. I'd be lying if I'd say that some of the folks that I've worked with that some ketamine treatments were not part of their. Yeah, it's and this might help it a bit too. That's.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not just trying to keep you comfortable.
No, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I've got a similar stand that does the same thing. Yeah, that bad boy is just dripping down.
But what's the deal with ketamine? So I've heard of the treatment that you could go to a therapist. My buddy actually does it.
Yeah.
But I just, that wouldn't work for me because I'd be stoked to go there and get high and talk to my therapist.
Right. And
you know what I'm saying? That's the way I would look at it. Some people wouldn't, but for me, I'd be like, I'm down to go to therapy. Let's do this.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Hey, dude, and listen, you don't even need to go to a therapist. I mean, there's places that literally do direct mail, online, you basically meet with the clinician online. Then they'll just literally send the little lozenges to your house, right?
It's like the Special K we used to do. I did I did a line of Special K in college, I remember. Yep. And it's like just kind of like a Xan, you're kind of like.
Well, dude, K-holes is what some people go into, which is very dangerous.
So that's what it is. Ketamine.
Yeah, Special K is ketamine. Yeah, it's 100% the same thing. Now, again, it's one of those things that's difficult because I can say that there have been people that I've worked with, because again, my whole thing is to find something unconventional, out of the box, because everything's been tried with them. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that they couldn't go to one of those programs again and just try harder. But again, when they've already dropped over $1 million in different treatment options, it's like, look, we want to try to create a situation where, we're going to try everything, find some of the things that work, and get you to the point where you're literally on your own with the recovery system that you've built up outside of myself or the team, that you have a good recovery system in your life. And ketamine has been one of those building blocks, just like the ibogaine had been, was intended to be for that individual, right, but has for many other people. It's something that they had tried and had worked, but it didn't become a part of their weekly management. They haven't done a treatment in over a year.
Is it kind of like if you did, you do MDMA for therapy, it breaks down a wall and it makes you more talkative and you can connect about your traumas more fully. Is that the ketamine approach? Why it would be used in therapy?
Here's why. So there's a lot of trauma, and ketamine is a dissociative, right? It's a horse tranquilizer. And so what you're able to do, let's say you have so much trauma that makes it so you literally can't talk about certain issues. It literally helps you disassociate from all of your emotions and your body, so you're kind of sitting back and you're not tripping and seeing visions. But although that can happen, but you're basically able to disassociate enough so that it's not too difficult to so it's not too difficult to process anymore. And it's got a place, but I just think that again, it's something that I know people that are literally just getting these online things, sending them a month's worth of troches, which are the lozenges, to their house, and they're doing them in a week.
Are they just doing them to just party on? Or are they?
They always say it's therapeutic, and some of the folks I'm talking about aren't even addicts in recovery. They might be sex addicts or codependent addict, in recovery for codependency, they're part of CODA or whatever. But it's therapeutic and medicinal to a point. But again, as we talked about earlier, what do all addicts want to do? We want to escape. And so when it becomes an escape valve that they're just pulling, then it's you're going to pull that escape valve every time that you can, dude.
Does it push people to be more talkative? You get that little bit of euphoria and...
I'm maybe some...
Xanax and stuff never did that. Because is it in the same family as the Xanax?
So
tranquilizers, because Xanax is a tranquilizer, right?
Yeah, but it's not a benzo though. It is a tranquilizer to a point, but it's a different mechanism of action. And I haven't usually seen talkative. In fact, quite the opposite. When you take too much ketamine, you go into a K-hole. That's some of the things you see on YouTube where they're people are passed out drooling, talking nonsense, blah, blah. So
then what? They got to do a line of coke to get out of it?
Dude, that's what I'm seeing people do the most of. Like cocaine and ketamine, they buy them together. They like the dealers that are selling coke these days, they sell ketamine as well because it's like peanut butter and damn jelly, you know? And so,
really?
But as far as the therapeutic use of it, like the goal is to keep it where they're almost silent. Like when you go to one of these places to get a ketamine treatment, dude, they'll have like 10-foot love sacks in the room that you like just like lay down on. And you know, you do your ketamine treatment and you basically just don't talk to anyone. Then after, you might do a session, but they're offering them where you don't even need to like talk to someone after. Like you just go and you get your high and then you leave and you're paying $150 per time you want to get high.
Does that work? I mean, what
addicts? I'm not a big fan of it for addicts.
So now it's just regular people are going in there just to see, if they had a hard day of work, they're going to go to this ketamine clinic, take the edge off and try to have some therapy.
Well, you don't even need to get therapy there. You know, now one of the things that they like to ask you, are you in therapy? They like to hear that. But if like with this last individual I'd worked with, we'd gone somewhere for them to get a ketamine treatment. And the question, like they still had, and it was the detox was on board with this. Like the whole thing was like, yeah, they're in a really rough spot. This has worked for them in the past because they used to offer them there actually at the center. And the doctor had said like, they need to go try one. And so we went and tried one. And because there had been some of the detox drugs in their system, fortunately, this place was responsible enough to not, they basically urine screened it out and said, sorry, you can't do it.
Right.
But there are some that are more, I don't know. In fact, reckless. They're more,
reckless might be
more reckless that aren't even really checking. Again, it's just more
money.
legal drug
It's
dealing.
about money.
Legal drug dealing.
It's like a methadone clinic. Kinda.
Yeah, exactly. But $150 a pop. You know what I mean? It's like they're usually making them buy. This is the part I don't like. They're making them often buy like 10 sessions at a time. And they give them like a discount. So it's like you buy 10 sessions and then, you know, it's basically a plan for 10 weeks. But some of these people will, you know, come twice in the week and it just leads to the point where they're trying to find ways to get it online, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to poo-poo it because I have seen it help some people. I just think that it's important that centers are at least like this other one, that they're making sure that you're not like an active addict, or that if you are, that you've got an actual doctor that is your regular doctor that's signing off on it and he's actually recommending it. But that was Matthew Perry's thing, ketamine.
Yeah.
Dead.
It's a lot of people's thing.
Yeah.
It's
more popular now than I've ever seen it.
Yeah. It's just like you tie it to therapy. Yeah. I just think the only way you can overcome I am on board with like, I really am. Like I could see how the psychedelics would work, you know, like, cause it's not like addicting. Like I know
especially ibogaine, dude, the least addicting thing on the planet.
Mushrooms. It's like, dude, you know, people can get wrapped up in mushrooms, I guess, but like an ibogaine, that's just taking you on a ride. It's not something you're going to really care to take before you go into a board meeting.
No, and not only
you know
that,
what I'm saying? Or just
it's usually something you never want to do again. You will love your experience. So those of us that had a good experience on it, right? Like you're not sitting there euphoric the whole time. You're watching actual demons try to slaughter you at times. You're like, literally, you're watching it happen. Like, it's scary. Like, bad trip mixed with good trip mixed with, a way a lot of people describe it is it's like 12 years of psychotherapy packed into 36 hours. So, because you're literally like a lot of experiences people have talked about, and they've been variants of this. Mine was one that was similar to this, is it's like let's say you're in this big, long, dark room, right? And all of a sudden you see this file cabinet shoot out of the wall, right? And then you might look at some of the folders and see childhood trauma. You pick it out, you open it, you look through, like you basically experience some of that trauma again. And you're like, all right, cool, close, deleted, done. Like I've resolved that now. Like it helps people resolve a lot of things, but it is not there's no euphoria associated with it at all. So it's scary.
So I analyze that, like, would I want to go do that? Absolutely. But I can see the ibogaine it wouldn't be this thing where I was excited to go get high.
No,
like a ketamine clinic. For me, a ketamine clinic with a big cot to go hang out on, and then I get to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That doesn't have the same the ibogaine in my brain. It does tell me that I could get something out of it.
Yes.
Really gets, and it would be a little scary. Like I'm not really, but I could see that I could go deep there and really resolve some things.
Exactly.
And not be something that, but ketamine, you go down there, I could get a simple reward.
Yep.
What if I caught a reward from that and I spoke really well to the therapist?
Right.
And I was like, I really like being this open and vulnerable. Like,
right.
Then it would be easy to go back and say, why can't I just have some of this to help me talk to my wife?
Exactly. Can you send me home with some? Can you? Exactly, dude. It's, it's happening. Sad to say, but it's happening. I was actually, I knew a lot of people that were putting together new ketamine clinics with like this new route of administration for it. And because it's one that had worked really well at the detox, at the detox center that we're big fans of.
Right.
And they don't do that anymore. But, it had been helpful specifically in the fentanyl withdrawal situation.
That one's off now.
Should we keep rolling? All right. So the fentanyl withdrawal specifically, ketamine had a very profound use in acute withdrawal situations. Like I'm talking that in one of these cases, this female, not anyone that we'd spoken to, but this other woman who was a hardcore opiate addict, fentanyl addict. Her skin was literally yellow the way that she was detoxing. Her detox was, she was throwing things. She was saying, I need to leave. But she was, I mean, it was hell. Well, they did this mixture of ketamine and a couple of other things that made this blend unique. And it, within about 15 minutes, within about 5 minutes, eyes were closed. She was sleeping and she woke up and was almost done with her detox. Like, so in that acute instance, I see it having a use. Therapeutically, it can as well. But again, if you're an addict, if you have any proclivity to becoming dependent upon substances or count on them too much, stay away from it. You know what I mean? Like,
You
dude,
just gotta know. Like, I know that wouldn't work for me.
Yeah,
I know one of those clinics wouldn't work for me.
Right. I know. Likewise, I would literally be having I'd find a way to have my closet full of those troches. You know what I mean? I'd just be trying to escape every day, because the moment I knew I was doing it in a way I shouldn't do it, then I would need to escape, because now I'm not living congruent with the life that I'm leading.
By 20 sessions,
Yeah.
This is a good little 3-day-a-week routine. Go meet with a therapist while I'm high. Half the time I really liked opiates, and anything that was in my pocket was because I'd plan it out. I'd be like, all right, I got to have this conversation at a family party in 30 minutes.
Yep.
I'm going to take this now so that I'm on top. And I'm going to have a beautiful conversation. You know what I mean? So, like,
of course,
I just know that ketamine and anything like that using that for therapy, it wouldn't work. But I could see how it could for some people. Everybody's different.
Everyone's different. Yeah. And again, in acute withdrawal, I've seen it work when applied by professionals that really know what they're doing. When you're talking about something you can literally just order in bulk offline with doing a measly web consultation, you know what I mean? Especially these days, it's like you could be a damn AI avatar talking to the person. Mm-hmm. So you could be like completely losing it, put on I don't want to go to, it's just crazy that like just an online session, that you do, that they just screen you for, and then they ship you a month's worth. It's like, dude, some of these places are so reckless and so, they don't know what they're doing. And dude, one of my best buddies, I mean, we know Jackson, ketamine was one of the main things in his system.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah.
He
drowned. Yeah. It's, I mean, very, very sad situation. And, he drowned, and that was one of the main things in his system. I mean, dude, it's my dealer back in 2012, 2013, before I was fully dependent upon kratom. The reason that when I became fully dependent upon it was when I was withdrawing from some actual oxys that I got from the Tenderloin. And then I remember being like, shit, all right, I'm just going to have to take some of this in like higher doses, but it was the one that I'd just gotten, but I still thought it was like regular kratom. And dude, I remember I spent like 3 hours in San Francisco talking to the hot dog vendor about how amazing the hot dog was that he had made me. Like, dude, like he told me about like the history of hot dogs and I was just fascinated. And I was like, oh, dude, I've found my substance. You know what I mean? Like I had just made it. But
just on board.
Oh yeah, just on board. And so, oh gosh, were we saying kratom in that? I'm trying to think how I was tying that point back. When I'd arrived.
What do you think about MDMA? So they're using MDMA for a lot of therapy too.
I mean, again, it's you were talking.
You mean that's a drug that makes you super happy?
Oh yeah, dude, it's literally ecstasy, right? Like it's.
I mean, how could that be used as therapy?
Well,
I mean, I guess it's the right person and
they talk about microdosing also,
therapy.
so it's not like but again, it's like. And does it have a use? Yes. And I'm not a physician or anything like that, right? But can it have a use and a benefit? Okay, sure. But do people know what MDMA stands for? It's methyl-dioxy-methamphetamine. You know what I mean? It's literally a version of methamphetamine. And so it's like it's sure it can be something that helps you. Again, if you are someone that has any risk of addiction, have any addiction in your past, I just would say stay away from it. Yeah. Like, what works? Like a group of again, first of all, for me, God is Lord up above, right?
Yeah.
For some, God is group of drunks, right? Yeah. Like just the rooms of AA. Yeah. Like you can have a spiritual connection and an amazing experience with just being with other alcoholics and addicts. And,
a true experience. Now, some people might need some of those things to get over roadblocks, and I don't judge, again, because what I do specifically is I work with people that have tried everything. So I've got it. Sometimes, I've never had anyone go do MDMA therapy, never done that. Yeah. But I've seen other things work, and I've got to try things that are out of the box because they've tried everything else. Yeah. And fortunately, we have good results, but it's I certainly don't recommend it, man. Yeah. Like, I mean, people are microdosing psilocybin now. Like they're finding ways to microdose shrooms. Yeah. What do you think about that? I wonder if that would work, because I know that if I took that, I would be waiting for the head change.
So what people tell me, they say it's like having a stimulant in their system is what they say, like a light stimulant in their system every day. And when they start getting in their system, and it's not something I'd want to do. I'd be too worried about, okay, well, what's going to happen when I can't get my supply? Like what I learned about me even just having a drink and why I can't is that even if that's not my drug of choice, everything that alters my mind is going to lead back to my drugs of choice at one day or the other. And when I can get it at a gas station, I have to be that much more cautious.
Yeah. One thing I've been saying in groups a lot, like, if I took anything that dipped my mood, this is what's changed with me having it on the gas. So like, say I just was like, I could make a party one night. A buddy comes in town from Wichita, and I go decide I'm going to drink 6 or 7 beers, whatever. Right. Which is a thought I've always had, like even having those years. So like, there was always some back doors open for something like that.
Of course.
Smoke some cigarettes and drink some beer, But dude, no, because I can't do that anymore, because it would cause my mood to dip the next day.
Yep.
And I would be like, I'm going.
Feel free. I'm going to go feel free.
Feel free's right there. It's legal. I just know, I don't know. Maybe I needed to have this last relapse to really have me do a step one.
Bingo.
Like I'm just powerless. Like I can't, if it's that accessible.
Yep.
And the way it translates over into my brain is it's that they're Percocet 10s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For some reason my brain tells me it's those yellow Percocets that I used to love.
Yep. But it's even more dangerous because it's hitting your brain in more angles.
Yeah.
But dude, my last relapse in prior to 2016 was exactly what I needed too. Of course, I wasn't still working in the field of recovery and still helping people, but I always held out with the belief that I can drink like a gentleman. Well, problem is I would drink like a gentleman, quote unquote. I'd have one of my buddies around that would have some blow, which it'd be like an attorney buddy. So it's also a professional, like someone whose life isn't destroyed. And before I'd have 1 or 2 drinks, I'd be like, dude, why do you even mess with blow? Like, keep that away from me. Like, man, I can't stand that garbage. I'd just have 2 drinks, not even feel drunk, but I'd be like, bro, that's such a great idea. You brought that shit. Chalk up a line right now.
Yeah.
Like, and it wouldn't even turn from drink 3 to drink foe. It would turn to drink 3 to blow. Like, that's what I always tell people, you know? And then,
Foe.
and then then I'd be feeling like shit. You know what I mean? I'd be feeling like shit the next day.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, dude, if they had cocaine, they've got to know someone that's got some oxys. And I'd find a way to go back to that, right?
Yeah.
And so it took me back out, and so it's what made me realize, even though I'd had all those years sober, what I always had in my mind was that I could go back to drinking responsibly because my family always drank responsibly.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as that in my family anymore. We're a whole family of genetically predisposed people to alcoholism and addiction. But I just had that fantasy that I could. I remember this one guy in treatment, he would tell me that this is how you know you've got a problem. He would say, guys, it was always such a great speech. He'd be like, guys, I'm so glad I got sober this last time. He's like, because I would find myself like, anytime I'd have to give up alcohol, I would say, but the thing is, I just want to be able to have a glass of champagne with my daughter at her wedding. Like, I just want to be able to do that. Like, that's it. And he goes, but then when I'd look back and I'd realize that I don't even have a fucking daughter yet, that's a problem. You know what I mean? That would kill me. But that's the way we think. It's like, it's like, oh, I've got an excuse to alter my mind. I've got an excuse to get fucked up, And it's just the way that us addicts work. Like, we just want the performance enhancement for some of us.
Yeah.
But it gets to the point where you just want the escape. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that a lot of your use near the end, like, what performance were you enhancing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you were just probably like, I can't feel this despair anymore.
Well, yeah, and then it gets where you're sick or you just,
I'm just getting well. I'm just getting well.
Yeah.
That's why the term with, shooting up was always with people is, I just need to get well.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't want to be having the flu anymore.
Yeah, dude. I do not want to do that again.
And dude, just to think that those things that Maverick can do that to you, bro, is terrifying.
The whole thing that I keep in my pocket too, like, so I'm finally kind of just getting this balance of equilibrium, settling into life again,
Right.
That first 2 months after when I went back to work, dude, like, just a mess. Like a mess as far as the insecurities. I'm way insecure because now it's just going back to work. Everybody knows SOAR things weren't great.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to get no one I'm building out
everyone hates
building
you.
out scenarios in my head that Frank's they're just want me out of SOAR and just creating all these assumptions.
He's just trying to boot you. And all he wants is like, dude, I just want you back, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you were such a big part of my recovery. Like, I just want you back.
Yeah. And like, but you know how it's so like, it's not just when you pull it out, it's the work of like trying to get back balanced and all those character defects creep back in.
Exactly. That's why relapse happens the most, dude, is because we don't like the feeling in our own skin.
Yeah.
And we either want to escape or we're like, I just need to improve my performance. But really it's like, no, I want to run from the imperfections and the insecurities that I have.
Yeah. I was saying this, I was comparing the other day, but I was saying like, I enjoy life, like most of the time sober, like,
right.
But not really. But
Elaborate.
There's just some serious discontent that runs through my veins on a constant level. Right. And,
surrounding what? Yourself mostly?
Just not being, but then this is why, but when I put something in my system, it feels like it offers me a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Right. Like when I am sober, I do feel content when I have God.
Yes.
And when God becomes my drug. So,
yes.
So I use this example, like, say I'm going into I love taking something to be more social and enhance.
Yeah.
I've said this on here before, but I want to say it to
There
you.
were people pleasers.
Well, just so if I was coming on you here with you to have this conversation, it does sound nice to be on a couple Percocets. That's one of these situations that it would.
It is a perfect example.
It'd be fun to talk to you.
Exactly.
And that's dangerous, but I can do the same thing. I go down before we start, get down on my knee, have a prayer. We have our spiritual prayer, and then God's in the room with me, and God's my drug.
Yep.
To help me, and I do feel content. And it's so the substance abuser. It's almost like we need to continually have our spiritual condition elevated, or because we want that spiritual experience. I think that's why I liked pills, is it gave me a spiritual feeling.
Yeah.
On some level, it's fake, can't last, but and I know you're the same way. I want to enhance this experience on the podcast. I want to go to work and be on point, and I want to kill it. That's a dangerous thought,
dude,
because you can't, that's not a realistic, that's such a thinking error. And when you can't do that, and I worked on this in treatment, it's a thinking error to think that I'm going to be on point all the time.
Exactly.
Give me a break, dude. Mm-hmm. And so now it's like, dude, it's good enough, man. This podcast together with you today is the way it was supposed to go.
Yes.
And I'm perfectly content with it. And could I enhance it? You think you can.
No,
but
dude.
If I was loaded on a couple Percocets when I came into this, it wouldn't be as spiritual, and I wouldn't have that light like you talked about. It's going to darken me up, and you're not going to be. So it's going to be awkward. It's not going to be what I thought that enhancement really was. It's a fake thing.
Right. But dude, I'm so glad you said that, because it's like during the time that you while we're shooting the podcast, you're going to think like, dude, I'm so fucking on point. Like, I'm making the best points ever. And meanwhile, what you didn't realize until you watch it back sober is he and I being like, dude, you know what I mean? Like this dude, all right?
Yeah.
Right. But it's like we enjoy it in the time. Like, I remember thinking that too, like that, oh my gosh, like I have to send a really difficult email. ChatGPT didn't exist at that time to make it very easy, but I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to make sure I take this cocktail of substances. I'm going to get this Adderall, the kratom, and a Xan. I'm going to get everything, and I'm just going to get that right balance to where I'm going to kill this email.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd look back at that email after getting sober, and I'd be like, what? That's a 7-page email. Like, dude, who is gonna read that? Like, what? But I just enjoyed myself while I did it.
Yeah.
So it's like we just want that brief enjoyment. And to your point about saying you just want to be on point all the time, dude, you are on point all the time. Like when we're sober, we're exactly where God wants us, bro.
Yeah.
We're doing it exactly how God wants us to do it. And I can relate to what you're saying, because my biggest trigger, it's always been the way, is when the more successful I get, that's my biggest trigger. Like when I'm doing extremely well is when you start getting in rooms with like more successful people. Insecurities start to raise, because you're like, dude, am I as good as them? Am I as is my word matter as much as them? Like, am I as smart as them? And it's like, you think that it's just like, oh, I'm looking to enhance my performance. But it's often like, at least what I've realized with myself, it's like, no, my insecurities rise as I start doing better and better. And instead of face them, if I can just escape them, then I think I'm doing better. But no, I'm just making it hurt less in the moment. I'm just avoiding some of the pain that you have to do. Like, you got to go through pain and difficulties to get better and better at what you do.
Yeah.
So that's why this last relapse made you better. Like, most people, as long as you get sober, the last relapse is such a gift. The problem is we don't know if we're going to make it back if we go out again. Yeah. I know people that have literally been like, they've told me this. They got sober when I got sober the first time. And they've said, Don, you know what, dude? I got to be honest. Part of me is thinking about going out and relapsing just so I can have like this renewed passion for recovery that you do.
Yeah.
And then when you talk to them longer, you realize that's not what they want at all. They're just looking for any excuse. And that just sounds like a good one to use again. You know, so it's like, how's your program going, et cetera? Then you realize like, oh, dude, you're not even going to meetings anymore. You fired your sponsor 3 months ago. You're fighting with your wife. You know, you're starting to go to the club again, but not drink.
Yeah.
It's there's things that are starting to go terribly badly.
Yeah, bro, it's wild. Like it's a wild disease. And but the beautiful side of it is just the chance you get to work on those character defects. You know, the
Most
chance
don't.
the chance that you get to see. I mean, with this last one, you know, I'm happier. I'm happier than I was. I go down there in those rooms, and when we have our groups, and we had our group this morning, and I'm working with these kids, and then just everything that's going on, it's a new meaning for me now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really was slacking, and I think God saw it, and when has been a good thing. I think it's a good thing because it woke me up. I came, this whole man in the back thing came out of this relapse. It forced me to, I got into really, I got tired of suffering so bad by attaching to so many assumptions and fears. And so that's what the man in the back is. I told you what it is, right? It's where you step back and you, instead of attaching, you observe your thoughts. So there's that one, there's that scenario. And I'm not going to attach to that, but I see it.
You're being reflective. Like you're genuinely reflecting on everything you're going on without judgment. Yeah.
And I'm just not attaching. And I still attach. Like this last week, there was a couple things, altercations I got in with people at work, and I wanted them to see my way, and they didn't. And so then I practiced what I wanted to say to them, and how stupid you are for not seeing things.
Yeah, you idiot.
Yeah, like why, but see, that'll cause me to suffer. And that's really when my ego comes out and I start running on fear again. So then I reel it back to the man in the back. I do a present moment protection walk. I get in, and then slowly, it's not a quick thing, but slowly I moved back into faith. And now I'm observing that it tied in with a lot of scripture study and prayer. But that's my game, is this thing moving back and forth to fear, and then reeling it back over to being faith. And when I run it on fear, I get pretty ego, and I want, I got into,
you're Satan's minion in those moments, dude.
Well, the political thing too, I see.
I was just going to say, when you were saying that, what was in my mind, I was like, go talk to someone that is staunchly the opposite of whatever your political beliefs are, and see how well that goes, like having them see it your way. It's like, dude, there are things you're just not going to convince people of certain things of your way. Like, and what's the right way? You know what I mean? Like you might have a right answer. If it's a math problem, there's a right answer. Anything else, what is the right answer?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it just does no good. And
it's ego, like you said.
So the freaking man in the back is the guy who sits back, and it's basically, you're trying to kill the ego. It's an ego death, and you're just sitting back there. And when I am the man in the back, I am with God. And that's when I really like life.
Yeah.
But I'm not the man in the back all the time. And when I'm not, that discontent courses through my veins, and I don't like much.
Right.
I know
what you mean.
And that's my wrestle in this life. I know it, but I got a cure.
Are you a big isolator when you're in those moments?
No, I want to get you on my side.
Yeah, I feel you.
Let me argue about this.
But when it doesn't go your way is what I'm wondering. Like when it does, but fortunately, you're in a situation where you're around people all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to engage with the kids at your school. You've got to engage with the staff.
Yeah.
You've got to engage with the people you manage. Like you have to do that. So you at least have people that are, yes, that can be dangerous too. Because then if it's controlling you, you're like, now I've got 30 people I've got to make see my way, right? Yeah. But what I've realized, and this is maybe for a lot of other people to that maybe don't have as many don't have as many people in their daily life that they have to be around. But like, I'll work with someone so intensively for, a year plus. And then I make it a point to take often months off of like, working with someone again, to make sure that if I need to jump back into a situation that I'm available, right. But also B, to kind of reconnect with my family, et cetera. But what I find out is that, again, I might feel some discontent and giving myself a break to relax is one of the most dangerous things too, because I will find that I will end up being the best isolator in the world. And what I'm telling myself is I'm just letting my batteries recharge. Yeah. Then it's like, dude, you haven't talked to even your family other than like required things in a week. Like you've just hidden in your office, like just been online doing things like, so isolating for me is so dangerous. And so that's why I think the more people we have in our life and that's why this podcast is a lifesaver for you probably too. Yeah. It was for me, like, especially when we were doing it. Cause it's like, dude, you have a reason that you've got to be there to give.
Yeah.
And
we were talking about that yesterday in our group, like how blessing this podcast is. I didn't really want to start it, like, because it's a lot of work.
Of course it is.
But I felt like I needed to, and I don't know. And it just sounds like this. This is so spiritual, like these. I look forward to it every week. But there was a big barrier to try to just get this thing rolling, and try to
probably want to be perfect everything. Like it's a lot of times where you're like, now you're not just looking at yourself, you're putting yourself out there in the world for other people to look at, and for people like us that are insecure, that are people pleasers, that can be dangerous because we want that performance enhancement.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good for our little community down here. Like, dude, everybody's watching it. Like, everyone's going to know who you are. Like, they all watch. Our views. I mean, I said this on here before. I'm just, the social media stuff. Like, I look at the followers and stuff. Like, if I had our last episode had, like, I think Chris Hills, and we had 300 people watch the entire episode.
That's incredible.
Like, I don't care.
In the first 2 days.
Like, and that's
really
like
good.
300. I mean, that people be like, oh, people get a meal. Bro, I'm not looking for that. I'm trying to help this area right here. If I don't care if some dudes listen to me in Florida. Mm-hmm. If that happened, it happened. But like, it'd be cool if just this area, because then they know the resources that are available.
Exactly.
If all these influencers and stuff, like, golly, like the competency level in people, like, and they're just trying to get all these followers, but they're like, it's just like going about it in a weird way. It's like, if you can't even get your neighbor to listen to you, like, why are you trying to get some dude in Florida to buy it? Like, 100%. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, it's the thing is, you're doing it for the right reasons. You're not doing it for fame. It'd be cool if it became a huge show. But I remember even back in the day, dude, it's 2019, maybe 20. I think it's 2019. Dustin and I are doing the podcast here in Ogden off 25th Street, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that I was doing a lot of research at the time into like how to grow something, and I remember being like, all right, it was Chris's episode, right?
Yeah.
And not Chris Hills, but I don't want
Arms,
Chris
Jones.
Yeah, Chris. I don't want to say his last name unless he'd be cool with it though. But his episode did quite well. In fact, I think it was like the best one we. But I remember one of the things I was saying. I was like, Dustin, the thumbnail has to be attractive, right? And so I was like, watch, and so I put like some actual needle. Needle and like some like lines and stuff like that to be like. And Dustin was like, Don, I don't like that. Like, I don't like that. Like, that's dark. Like, you got to take that off. But my point is, you've always been true to that. I'm like, Dustin, it's likely to get more views. Yeah. And your thing was like, I don't care. I just don't like it. And I understand the point, but there are a lot of weird things, especially now. It's graduated so much. The competition for podcasts. I mean, the California governor, Gavin Newsom, just announced 2 days ago, like, a podcast. It's like everyone's wanting to do a podcast. They're all wanting to make it like a huge revenue stream. And hey, shout out if that's what you're wanting to do. But it is like a full-time job. It does take a lot of work. But I'd say this is a labor of love. And honestly, labor of loves, you can always get someone to help like chop it up into, you know, clips, and fortunately there are tools like that now to get it to reach more people. But, you know, those are the ones that I think actually resonate with people, things that are labors of love, that are people wanting to do for the right reasons. Not like, all right, what's the most salacious thing we can talk about right now? Like, you know, and what's the, like, they just turn into gossip channels.
Yeah,
you know?
I can't do that. I love SOAR. I love our little community. I haven't talked to you in a long time. And so now I've got to catch up with my buddy.
Yeah.
And we filmed it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good. Me and Reikley are becoming friends, and he got sober through SOAR.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. That's so awesome.
How you know, and then one night I didn't have it. I didn't know who. I was like, I didn't know. I bought all this stuff and had no idea how to get it going. And I saw him down there. I was like, bro, let me show you my podcast studio.
Did you know that he had experience with it, or
no,
did he? Okay.
No. And so we come up here and he's like, dude, I was like, do you know how to do anything? And he's like, well, I played the guitar and was in a band. And bro, he comes up here, we came up here like 2 days later on a Saturday. He figured it all out. I mean, like YouTube and hustling, figuring it all out. And we shot the first episode. Me and him just BSing, trying to, you know what I'm saying? And it's so like, it's just, it's worked out. I had LT come set it all up because he was the first dude. I paid him like $300 to just come set it up. And then me and him just been hustling on it. And
dude, and I think the production's great too.
Yeah,
and
I'm working on it.
Yeah, did you get better each time? And shout out to LT too. I reached out to him maybe a year ago. I remember it was right after Florida because my client was working on a podcast, not recovery based, just it was something else. And but I was having this issue. I was trying to merge these things in Premiere, and anyway, he converted me to Final Cut Pro. I don't know which one you guys use, but
that's what we use.
Oh, I love it, dude. I like it better than Premiere. But I just wanted to give him a shout out, like, because he's really good at the production, and he's been grinding on Recovering Addict for years, even from back when the studio was shared, when it was like the Recovering Addict / SOAR studio, you know?
He's a good dude. He's
a good cat. But dude, the fact you guys did that in a day and like just grind on it, that's all it takes, dude. Anyone can figure out anything. And it just takes the time and the effort. Yeah. You know what I mean? And your music experience helps because you're so used to plugging guitars into amps and hooking things up. And,
it's been fun. But yeah, I don't know, you know, but I want you to know, bro, thank you for helping me as we wrap this thing up.
Likewise, bro.
Because, well, no, you're like, I will always speak highly of you.
Thank you,
you know,
man.
And I don't know. With Frank loves you, dude, the way that you helped him.
I love that, man, dude.
Yeah. And so, I want to always have you on here, you know,
dude, I appreciate it, man.
Because your knowledge, I mean, this was a completely different episode.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
Yeah, we didn't really talk stories or anything. We kind of went into it.
We pulled it out of each other a little bit, but like, I think you know, you are gifted, and you're like how you it seems like you got a photographic memory or something, but
it's weird. It is to a degree. And at the same time, I forget where I put my keys, you know, in the morning.
Well, that's the ADD.
Yeah, exactly. The untreated ADD.
But your knowledge in this world and your passion, you know, I'm glad
thank you, man.
You know, it's brought you here just like it's brought me here. Some reason we're in this space. I don't think we're going to be able to get out of it. You know, just like you tried to get out of it.
I can't. Like, I just know that I can't. Like, that's one of the things that I learned is I can't, man. Yeah, like, I have to continue. I get opportunities to go back into, you know, just I don't want to say the private sector, because what we do is well, yours is in the public, like you're nonprofit, but, you know, and I just have to continue working with addicts and alcoholics. Because if I don't, man, I quickly forget where I came from. Yeah. You know?
Well, yeah.
And dude, and look, same thing with you, man. Like I remember sending people that I sent to you, like they wouldn't be willing to go to any other program. Right. And they likely wouldn't have succeeded had they tried anything else. And what you do here is so unique, dude. It really is. Like there's no other place like this. I will argue. Like I know there's other like recovery gyms, and shout out to anyone that's doing anything in recovery, but SOAR's just got a a magic to it, dude. And it's birthed out of good intention. Like, you know, I mean, Frank, like his biggest thing was like, dude, I can't stand these places that are charging X amount per month. I want to keep this affordable. And then you go back to when you started this thing and you had, what was it 9 dudes sleeping on the gym floor? I forget how many you had, but
we had people sleeping in the gym.
Yeah, but this was when you started it, when it wasn't even like an official business. Like you just had, like you were, I don't know if it was you were doing training or what, but you were basically like, I'm like, yo guys, like, hey, you need a place to stay. Like, let's just bust our asses in the gym to get sober together.
But then, you know, I got robbed. So they stole.
One
dude stole my computer.
Of course. It happens when you open yourself up to things like that. You learn better OPSEC, like operational security and things like that. Like, I'm sure you lock these doors just to be safe. Yeah. You know, but it's
this place has turned into something. Like, so what's cool is, you know, I was out of here. Yeah. You know, I got voted out and was out.
Dude, I remember.
Like, dude, it's bigger than me now. And
it is, dude.
And that's cool.
Right.
You know, like this place is rolling.
Yeah, dude, it is.
And Frank and just everybody, like this place means a lot to a lot of people. And
well put.
And it's cool. And Frank basically runs it. I mean, he's the guy, you know, he's got a bigger role in it than I don't know how to. I don't even know. I don't even look at the money. I don't even know.
Dude, I'm so impressed.
He's done everything, you know, and he, you know, it's pretty cool. Like my dream has come true, and it took me a while to learn that, to appreciate it. A dude, JT, a guy that, you know, I'm his sponsor. I've worked with him get sober, but then he's helped me on this last one. And he was kind of on me. He's like, why don't you enjoy SOAR?
Yeah.
He's like, look what it is. Why can't you just, because I was trying to come in when I came back and I was all, and he's like, dude, and Frank was counseling. He's like, you just got to ease your way back in.
Right.
You know, you can't come in and,
and
I understood that. And JT, like, he's like, can't you just come in and enjoy?
Yeah. Like,
and
look what you started.
Part of me is like, this is where I always wanted it to get. Now I'm not just appreciating it.
Right. Exactly. That's the fact that it's, you know, it's so easy for us to be just discontent, man.
Yeah.
But he's right. Like, dude, I mean, again, had you not been the seed, you know what I mean? And then found the right people to water it. Like, I remember, I mean, Frank was basically just had a little part-time job here after he went through it, you know what I mean? And then you had the vision where you're like, dude, and I always knew Frank was capable of whatever he wanted to do in this world, truly. But you were like, and I personally thought it was like a bit premature. I was like, you know, I'm like, man, that's like to give him, like to basically just put him in as like CEO, like just from like, but dude, you had the right vision. Like, and it's not that I doubted him. I was just like, that's a lot to put on. And look at what's happened from it, man. I think you couldn't have done a better move.
I think what I saw with him is that if you gave him that responsibility, he was going to rise and he was going to take his sobriety more serious. Mm-hmm. And, you know,
you were right.
And you donating and helping me in those early years too, when we first moved in, like, and I was done with Cold Creek. Remember when I made that transition?
Dude, I remember all that.
You donated and were helping me, like, bro, like, cause I didn't have that was an interesting time period because I lost that and I had nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and me and Frank were building it from that part. And
well, dude, it's, you know, it's
became SOAR, you know, we dropped it. Remember that?
Oh yeah. I remember that whole, dude, I remember the whole thing, man. That's an episode in of itself. Just
yeah, we will have to go into that. So,
but yeah, dude, like you, like, no, man, it's, you got, and dude, I'm honored to have been able to, you know what I mean? Blessed to have been able to, like, you know what I mean? I think that what I've realized is whatever we put before our recovery is what we lose. Right. And if I put, like, I used to always idolize money, right? Like if I put money before my recovery, that's what I'm going to lose. If I put family before my recovery, that's what I'm going to lose. If I'm, you know, and so if I'm like, oh, I just got to stack my chips, like not contribute, like not, you know what I mean? And so I don't even, like, money's a tool, and that's all it is to do good things. And to, and ideally what money should be for people is it should be a tool to help you to live your passion and help the friends and the family that you have live their passion. Yeah. Not just be used to get a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if anyone's able to ever contribute, like I will tell you guys, this is a really good place to contribute to. Like your dollars don't come here and get wasted and just go into Bentleys or things like that. Like they're all being used here. You know what I mean? Because you guys charge a fraction of what you guys are worth, but that's part of your mission. Is being accessible.
Cash price is what, $3,600?
I'm just so impressed.
We rarely get that. I mean, I don't know how it is now. I don't even know, but it's usually like, I don't know. He did the math. I think we're at like almost half of we rely on donations.
Right.
You know, like we brought in, so we take insurance,
right.
You know, which Medicaid.
Right.
So that's, you know, but, it just keeps going. I'm not going to worry.
Right.
You know, somehow, but like what's interesting, and I went through Action.
Right.
And I love Action.
Right.
That's where I did my PhD.
Right. Yeah.
But I watched that and I can just tell that they're in the hustle to figure out how to stay funded too.
Right.
Like if Action went out of business, if SOAR went out, what a bad thing that would be.
But yeah,
it's so hard to stay in business.
Dude, it is hard to stay in business. And you know, one of the things that's I can just say this from having referred people here before. And this is like, I don't know, maybe this is better for an off-camera discussion because it's more like just business knowledge and experience.
We can talk about it. It don't matter.
But like one of the things that's interesting is let me first give you just a story because it might help contextualize it. So the Michelin Guide, right?
Yeah.
Like the Michelin Guide, if you're a foodie, is the top guide for like culinary places in America, right? Like it's if you're a Michelin star chef, you're a millionaire. Like if you have 3 stars, you're set for life, right? Michelin used to be, it's a tire company, the Michelin Tire Company. The 2 brothers, basically, they actually used to give these guys, they were like, how do we sell more tires? Back in, 100 years ago or however long ago, they were like, how do we sell more tires? They're like, well, let's give people guides of all the things they could drive to. So if they drive more, we'll sell more tires. They'll burn them out, we'll sell more. Well, they started giving their guide away for free. And the thing is, they would go to some of these tire shops to like replace the guides, like, like replace the city weeklies or whatever. And they'd see like a bench that's lopsided propped up with a stack of like 10 of them. And they're like, these dudes don't respect the guide. So they started charging for it. Well, when they started charging for it, people started respecting it much more. They started being like, oh my gosh, when I pay for something, and it actually made it grow substantially. It's like, wait, people would prefer paying for something than getting something for free. And anyway, my point is markets are always interesting because I'm telling you that sometimes when people go to things that are cheaper, and I never like to use that term, but like less expensive, sometimes the mindset is like, well, what's wrong with it? It's like, let's say I was offering you a Mercedes for 20 grand brand new, like, or 15 grand brand new. Or your question might be like, well, what's wrong with it? I really think this is like a Mercedes level treatment, but you guys charge so low that I think some people might see it and be like, well, like, I don't know if it's that cheap. Like what kind of people am I going to be with? Like, this and that. And I'm not saying you should increase your prices because that's part of your mission, but I think it's just more of an appeal for everyone to help done. And maybe that's part of what you tell people is don't worry, like we're subsidized by donations, we would be charging a lot more. We'd be charging at least double which is a fact. If 50% is like donations.
Most IOPs are like $5,000 a month at
That's
least.
my point, dude. That's my point. Like you guys are
$7,000 a month.
You guys are one of the literally the most affordable. And that can cut both ways, but the fact that it's part of the mission is just so important, but if you guys ever have a hard time, covering it with donations, then we're in an inflationary environment. Price increases aren't the worst thing, and sometimes they help. Like the Michelin guys, they help the business. But you guys aren't in it for the money. You guys are in it to help as many people, especially those that can't afford these other places. Yeah, and that's so cool. But yet you can also take someone that comes from a family that has unlimited resources, and they'll fit in right here just like anyone else will and do an amazing job. Yeah. So
I think the big thing is so like it's Chris Hill. He was on last week. So Ian from FTR referred me to Ian hits me up. He's like, hey, I got this guy I met. He lives up in Ogden. Can you work with him? You know, can you get...
This was years ago before you met Chris.
Yeah, this is right when Chris was getting out of treatment at Pinnacle.
Right.
Somehow he had met Chris because I think Pinnacle took him to FTR.
Yeah, they did.
Or whatever.
They might still do it.
Yeah, and so Chris Hill comes up one day and he ain't got no money, to pay. And this is back when me and Frank just started. This is like right before we moved into this place.
Yeah.
And one day I looked at Chris Hill and I was like, after I met him, saw him, and I was like, this dude's going to be great for our community. He's going to help people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just come in.
Yeah.
And it's, you invest in the person, and how much what Chris Hill's brought to this place. How many people he's helped. He's donated his time. He had this place outfitted with a stereo system. He's got sober. He's out in the community to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
You can't even measure that investment. That's an unlimited return on investment.
I look at, and I love, Chris, I obviously didn't use him. I just
of course,
I just knew that like it's dude, and we still have that.
Yeah.
If we get me and Frank, we see a dude and we're like, he ain't got no money, but this dude's like great for this community.
Absolutely.
So like, hell with it.
And that's what makes you guys incredible, man.
And that's I think that is what it makes it. It's not just you look at not saying, but some people aren't going to be great for this.
Right.
And it's not going to be, it's nothing on them, but
right.
I don't know, man. That sounds rude, but
it's just the fact of things. If someone goes
not everybody's a fit for SOAR.
Not exactly. Not everyone's a fit for any different. Like that's why like what I do a lot is try to individualize things for what would be the right thing for them. And your guys' job is the community is the most important thing, and so you guys want to make sure that people that you bring in, and again, that's not saying you guys can't take the toughest, most difficult cases. Right. It's just if you've got someone who, let's say they've got a huge experience of getting everyone loaded in every treatment center they go to, residential, you're going to be like, you know what? If you have a hard time keeping drugs out of a residential center and getting all the other clients high, maybe this is not the safest place for you to come. Although at the same time, maybe you guys are the one place that they do well at because they respect it more. It's hard to say.
Did you ever see our podcast with Rick? It's called Rick Finds God.
Is he the bald dude?
Yeah.
Dude, listen. So yes, I turned that podcast on and I wasn't even planning on like watching the whole thing at that moment. I was just kind of like going to look at the production quality and be like, I'm so glad he's doing it again. And bro, I literally sat there and I watched, I wonder, one of the things he had said is he's like, dude, I remember that you couldn't catch me dead, like praying to God, or how he'd say it, but he's like, now I hold church on a damn boat.
Yeah,
he's like, I hold church on a damn boat. I'll still go out on the boat with people instead of getting drunk on a boat. I hold church on a boat.
The funniest part I love in that episode is what he said, that he was gonna do pretty good in life, and then when he died, he would sneak into heaven and choke God out.
I don't know if I caught that part, but that's
he
great.
Said that, dude. It was so like
that's just
because
real,
he was
though.
so mad at God.
Yeah,
he's
resentful.
Like, he was just mad because his wife had passed, but like I look at what that guy's, and the power of SOAR is our alumni.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Bringing in their own art and bringing in ideas and it really is. It's our alumni that's sticking around and helping people.
Well, dude, because your alumni, what it does is Frank's an alumni, right?
Yeah.
You're an alumni.
Yeah.
I guess you can call you're not an alumni. Like you founded it, right? Like you can't call even though like you just can't call yourself an alumni. You're the founder. But but kind of, you know what I mean? I'm saying that. That's not I'm just saying.
Yeah.
My point is though, but when people come in and they're like, I remember that when I went to Odyssey, for example, it was a 3%, 97% attrition rate. Only 3% actually graduated through those doors, right? And the alumni were the only reason that I was able to even have faith that I'd stay. Because I'm like, wait, this can work. Odds are stacked against me, but this can work.
Yeah.
Yours is obviously totally different type of program. But because of the alumni, when people are able to see them come back and do a workout, like they're all gonna be like, dude, I just can't wait till I'm them. Like I can't wait till I'm like that guy or that girl. you know?
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool.
And it's like you literally, my best friends are here.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's a friendship, a bond, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Dude, that's what you guys all become here as best friends.
Yeah, we worked out this morning, and then we went and had breakfast over at the coffee shop over there, the Weber State one over. What's it called? Grounds.
Daily
Grounds
Rise.
for
Oh,
coffee?
Daily Rise. But
Yeah,
it's,
that's a good spot.
and we had breakfast. You know, I think everybody ordered. I mean, there was 25 of us. You know, took over this little coffee shop, but and just everybody's paired off having these therapeutic conversations about life, and you know, and you just sit back and watch, and like that's in action. That is therapy in action, like real things going on. Not
Yep.
it's better than a group in a lot of ways, like because it's like real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you watch and people are talking and they're talking about, I mean, you know, addicts, especially when they've trained together. And you've opened up in a group here, and then you take it to a coffee shop, and they're all talking about real things.
Exactly.
You know, and we're all eating, and what a blessing that is. And I sat back today and watched it, and we were laughing, and I just was like, wow,
It's one of the coolest things about what you guys do.
This is different. This is a special thing that's happened organically somehow.
Right. And you've always taught. I remember when I was first learning about the program, when I had come and done a tour, and you would talk about you'd say, like, when everyone's done a workout and they're just broken down, like they're just busted, like they're, you know, like the inhibitions are a lot lower like your defenses are down.
Right.
Like, you know, you have no issue. Like, they just saw you doing the ugliest face when you did a squat, or when you were finally able to jerk or clean, you know, this weight or whatever. It's like, now, like, dude, they saw you looking awful, like, you know what I mean? And like, and you did that together. Now you're willing. It's almost like, I mean, look at, like, you guys are really almost like look at like a Navy SEAL experience.
But like a cult?
Well, no, I'm saying, I mean, like, dude, look at like Buds, right? Like just that 2 weeks of like SEAL training that Navy SEALs go through, you know, it's like they just get broken down, and dude, they become like a unit, and they're literally looking out for each other's life, and they're best friends for life. You guys are like an extended version of something like that, you know, not to scare people away that these workouts aren't things you can do, because you guys don't kick people out for
we got a dude. How old's that dude? We got a dude who just started who's 70 maybe.
Oh, really?
Like coolest dude. Like he was in long-term recovery.
It's a life experience, man.
20 years, and then went back out.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to get too much into him, but like he's, you know, and I got a prescription for him in the gym. That's the easy part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, what he's going to bring in the classroom is going to be something. I mean, I can get him on the bike and get him moving and maybe talk, you know, get him healthy, and you know what I'm saying? That's not hard.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's,
So
I mean, it could be for anybody. You know,
I came in here with a hella bad injury.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, did
I
you?
was like 3 surgeries deep, going on to a 4th surgery a month after I started. Didn't know how any of this whole workout program was going to work. But
you're like, sorry, it's just not going to work for me.
Yeah, but they were like, no, we'll manipulate anything around what you need.
Yeah.
And
in fact, it probably made your recovery better, right? Like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I would imagine.
I got better physical therapy here in that 3 months
That's what
than
I'm
I
saying.
got from any of the stupid doctors that were just like in and out, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't
helped
even
a
really
ton.
get to work with you during that time. It makes me sad, but I need to help you now with some movement out here.
Yeah, I
you
need
need
to
to
get
stay
back
on
in.
me with that, and I'll write you a program. And
Well, I got to show up for the workouts to do that.
but I could write you something where you could work it around your schedule, and maybe even start coming in here in the morning.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm just saying, I want to do that for you.
Yeah,
You know,
dude.
so because that's a bad injury, and you do need to have it prescribed properly, because you can't just come in and
Can't be doing squats.
yeah. I mean, he shattered his leg. He'll walk with a limp for the rest of your life. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's not a little
Yeah, it's not like you pulled your shoulder or something.
No, I
Like
didn't break my leg.
You turned your bone to dust, basically.
Yeah, 20, 30 pieces almost.
Oh, dude, yeah, that qualifies as dust to me.
Yeah,
Like,
it was dust.
Yeah.
100%, dude. Yeah, I basically have no ankle joint now.
Wow.
I've got like 20% like movement, pretty much. I'm still. I'm looking at.
Do you have like steel rods in there or metal
Not
rods?
anymore.
You
I
did,
got them
okay.
all out. Yeah.
So the bone has been obviously.
The bone is healed. Yeah, it's
healed,
it's end stage arthritis, and the bottom of my leg bone is like a square.
Damn.
Basically, it's just locked.
Do you get gout or anything with that? Like I've heard from people that have had injuries like that can creep up. You know?
I mean, I've got bone spurs and stuff. I've got an appointment like next month to go talk to another doctor to look at getting some of it removed, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's kind of an ongoing process, but yeah.
Well, dude, and the more, that's what's so cool is like, you got to still see your docs, obviously, but like with the experience you've got, being able to write a prescription for something tailor-made to something like that. I don't think people realize there are people going on to some of these fitness influencers channels. They're going in there throwing them like 10 grand to write them a workout prescription. That's really seriously. And then to basically get on FaceTime with them once a week to make sure they're doing their workouts properly. And they're paying like $2,500 a week for that. It's like you're offering this to everyone that comes through this program as like part of what it does, or Frank is, or, you know what I mean? And that's what's so cool, man. Like what you guys offer here is the value that people get here is, again, not only you're saving lives, but you're also providing things in their life that they're not going to get anywhere else at another treatment center.
Yeah.
You know?
Thanks, bro.
Dude, it's a fact.
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
I love you too, man.
Thank you for being on.
Dude, it's an honor, bro. Anytime you ask me, it's an honor, man. Like
we had to have gone about 3 hours, didn't we?
2 hours and 40 minutes right now.
Yeah, shit.
That's a good
Sick.
one.
Dude, we could probably go like another 5, so we'll definitely have to do it again on some other
We
topics.
will do it again. I appreciate you coming on and just
Likewise,
catching
man.
up.
Likewise, man. And all prayers for Buck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
anytime you guys lose somebody here, it's like they've got a lot of people that mourn for them. You know what I mean? Certainly far more than when we were back out using. You know, I don't know how many people would have cried for me when I was using.
Yeah.
You know, and you guys really do create a brotherhood here, man. So shout out to him, and you know, I'll be praying for his family. And I'm really sad to hear that happened, man. And it just shows, you know, that we can't take any day for granted. Any day.
It shows me the importance of this work.
Yep.
Including this podcast.
Likewise.
You know, everything you're talking about, it's an important work that we're involved in. And that's something we can keep in mind. And I don't want to ever make that. I said that maybe in my prayer in the beginning. I don't want to I took that for granted there with that last one and the way I was spiritually sick before. And I took this place for granted, and I don't want to do that again. It's been a gift.
Dude,
you know?
it really is. Like seeing you on the other side of that relapse, man, because I got to see you like kind of in the middle of it and then talking to you when you were.
That day we went to lunch.
Yeah.
And you're like, how many have you had today? And I think I was like 2, and I was like 7.
Of course. when you said 2, in my mind, I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I remember that's when I was like telling my wife, like, no, I've got it controlled, baby. I just do it right in the morning, right before lunch, and then right before dinner, and then maybe right before bed. It's like, nah, dude, I was nonstop. You know what I mean? But we can't be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
You don't want to tell yourself the truth, so you're certainly not going to tell your buddy the truth.
No.
You know, but dude, you really have like you couldn't have put it better. Like you getting a renewed appreciation for this place is, I mean, dude, that's worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like because again, dude, you're such a light here, bro.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
as is
bro.
Frank, and as is every single alumni that's been through here, man. So I've got a special place in my heart for this spot. And
You too, bro. You helped me build it.
thank you. Hey, man, I did the podcast. I contributed what I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, shout out to you and Frank, man.
You contributed at a time that you have no idea how much bad I needed money.
Well, I'm
Like,
glad it
I
worked out. It's God's planning, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like God literally put us all together at that
If
time.
I ever become a millionaire, I got you.
Hell yeah.
Dude, sounds good, dude. We're millionaires in our spirituality, but
Millionaire's not even anything nowadays. It's
if
like
people are paying you what
billionaire.
I'm telling you, once as the world starts realizing what again, dude, dude, we're rich. As long as we got our recovery, dude, we're truly rich, man. Like, I know that might sound corny, but it's like, I've been there having the most money, like money that didn't matter, like just a business that I could expense, and like, just again, dinners where it's $1,000 bottles of wine, etc. And I was the most miserable I could possibly be. Like, money doesn't matter, dude. Like, none of that stuff matters. It's just going to accentuate who you are at the time you get it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's
your style with money. A guy that's got like has been. I hope that if I had money, I would participate with it the way you do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, like those times you just. I mean, there would be dudes at our other place who didn't have a night to sleep, and he'd put them up in a hotel for 2 weeks. Sick. Who'd you do that for? You did that for.
Oh gosh, there was a
I think a couple of people.
Patrick might have been one, but I don't think it was that long. But he was trying to get sober through here, I think, Patrick. But there's been a few that I've.
Oh yeah. You did help Pat.
And then there was a guy that was a fireman. He used to be a fireman out of California. I remember helping him out. I think he ended up going to the Other Side Academy.
I did. I remember you helping him, Donnie.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I try to help where I can, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
it's a gift,
and
bro.
And I know you can lose things at any moment. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's why try to do good things with that tool. You know what I mean? Like, what's a bunch of hammers gonna do in your house, stacking them up? Nothing. Like, but if you're going out there and you're using the hammer, that's cool. You know? Yeah.
When you were, I was like, he's like, because I was gonna go do that ibogaine. I was like, I can't do that. I don't got the money. He's like, I got the money, bro. It doesn't matter. I'll just his ADD talk. I'll just send you out there, bro. I got the money. Let's just do it. Don't worry about the money.
I was like, just fucking, dude, just get on the damn plane. And like, you can literally be there within 3 days, bro. Yeah. Like, just fucking make it happen. But you did the path you needed to, bro. Yeah. Like you did the thing you needed to, you know?
It worked out, bro. Thank you, bro.
Amen, man.
Love you, bro.
Love you too, man.